oil.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Barrel Fishing Podcast. That was a great intro, guys. Thank you. That was great.
Oh my god.
100% in
energy
sector, so...
I was recording none of that, by the way. I wish I was, though.
No, it was just Tom talking stocks, which there is nothing less interesting than that.
I disagree. I could fall asleep listening to... Oh, a minute.
I was.
Well, yeah, that's useful, though. It's like ASMR or asthma, they call it.
That's going to be my YouTube channel.
Yeah. You
just talk about shit that people are uninterested in to go to sleep to.
Well, it's a win-win, right? Because if you were to talk about like stocks in a very like simple monotone way, people that care will watch, right? And also people that just need to go to sleep will also watch. So that's two different markets that you're
you could also put like you could also like put in a layer of audio in the background, like the brown noise, so it helps people shit at the same time.
Don't you want to do that to people that are sleeping, Harry?
You're going to be listening to it while they're asleep. Every time. Like, why would I listen to this?
I love watching your videos, like supporting except your videos, but I recently have been shitting myself constantly. Like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me.
I'm sure it's completely unrelated, so I'm not really sure why I chose to bring it up in your comment section, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I'm not sure why I decided to expose my disgusting personal life like that, but
you're disgusting.
Love your content life that much.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I want our comments to be. People talking about how they shit themselves while watching.
Well, we would need to put the brown note in the background.
Is so bad. It's about what it was in 2016.
I didn't know it even existed back then. But Tom, the Barrel Vision podcast has begun. Stock talk is over. You've had your
time. Can you please stop talking about that?
Some money to buy shit. I mean, really, I shouldn't be buying any stock because I kind of got to like keep my money for my insurance and my speeding fine. But...
Yes, we get it. You're an adult,
and also for that court case about eating the waffle.
You gotta keep your money for your promotion, right? That's what your promotion. You got to buy cosmetics, Deep Rock. Am I right? Please.
So you'll notice that Thomas is in fact here, and I believe it's the first time he's been in a podcast since we moved to Discord.
Yeah,
actually, he's represented by a beautiful little rat in a Back to the Future cosplay.
Yeah,
it's like sort of pasted over though. Yeah, it's just a generic Discord icon.
I made my own one.
What, that blue guy with the hat?
The terribly drawn rat.
Oh, well, I don't have that. I've got this. Yeah, I've got this photorealistic rat instead. Not photorealistic, photographed.
I mean, really, if you go on theme, we have our dwarves, our faces, or our dwarven men as our icons. So you just need your godforsaken scout look. I'll
tell you what, man.
About doing that.
I'll tell you what. Those new DLC armors are going to look fucking hot with the Scale Brigade skin.
Tom has no idea what you're talking about. Probably would have been a good idea to watch the narrated trailer, Tom, or our breakdown of it. But
no, he's going in blind. Not that he's going to come out seeing anything, because we can't show him anything, because that will completely fuck with the podcast like visuals. So we're just.
I'm literally considering spending buying fucking a shit ton. Give me a second. Give me another.
What do you mean? Give you a second?
We'll start the video, and when you're ready, you can join in. Okay.
But to sort of preface our situation, though, obviously, yesterday, Season 3 Experimental Branch dropped. Next Thursday, it will go live on Steam. 2 weeks after that, we'll be able to start playing it.
Yeah.
So we are in a underbaked circumstance. Although I am as well informed as I pretty much possibly can be without actually being able to get my hands on it. So that's sort of our condition.
And it's kind of annoying because it's not even like if we wanted to, like we could afford to buy Deep Rock on our like laptop or PC. It's just then they're not good enough to run it. So it's really not worth buying it because it's not worth playing it. It's pretty unbearable. Like, because I've tried to play the Steam version on PC.
Yeah.
So we really can't play it to like test it out. Well, you guys probably will. But if you're a fellow Xbox only player, we're together. Don't worry, we're we're
Yeah.
suffering alongside.
We understand. But
Yeah.
there are, of course, a fair few actually elements that we know enough about, I should say, where we can talk on them, give our opinions on. Not, we can't give our opinions on how something plays, I suppose, or how something feels to use, but there are certain things we know enough about where we can actually recognise and perhaps even talk on the implications of such things. And just this is going to be quite a fairly generalised understanding of Season 3. But I think we can actually... They'll definitely... This is sort of our opportunity to really expand on the things that caught our attention yesterday, really.
Yeah.
Instead of just like spending the same amount of time on every point. Obviously, there are things you would... By watching our trailer breakdown or the patch notes breakdown, you'd be able to see what things caught our attention. And we did spend a little bit more time, but we spent relatively the same amount of time on everything. Today, we can sort of... we can sort of ignore certain parts. Because, although I don't really know what those parts would be, because actually I know quite a bit. Because basically what I did, I would say in preparation, although it was sort of not really like I could have planned this, because luckily our wonderful ally, Snowing Fate, was live streaming Season 3 last night, Experimental Branch. A live stream which I deigned to tune into, and I saw how a lot of things worked in-game. It's especially the new enemies, or newish enemies, I suppose. And I also took a lot of screenshots for reference.
Right.
Obviously, I don't think I should be... I won't show you them, and that wouldn't really work. But the point is, it's things like the miners' manual entries and stuff like that. Stuff that is actually useful and is publicly available, but obviously not really available to us.
Yeah. But I think so. I think going at it at this angle, we're not really going to be informing you about this stuff because you probably have a better access to it than we do. But we're just going to be, I guess, giving our thoughts on it and what we think it means for the future. Basically.
I would also like to point out that the experimental branch has kind of just disappeared from Discord. There's no way of like seeing the patch notes.
All right.
Which is really going to fuck over certain things I want to do.
They might bring it back.
I don't know. I can see it on Steam at the moment, but I don't know if this is something that gets regularly updated though. But it does have the Season 3 patch notes here, so we're fine there. It's just that the section for it on Discord has basically disappeared, and I find that mildly concerning. Now, I want to quickly address though the fiasco yesterday on the dozens thing, and how stupid I feel. But I also don't know which one of us is right at the same time.
All I know is that I was on the live stream when they said they were adding 12 new things.
Right.
And
see, that's why I
them...
think you're probably right, but I still think grammatically it doesn't make sense to me. So we should defer to Thomas, you here?
Yes.
So if I were to tell you... Actually, I can get it up directly. If I were to give you the sentence... where is it?
Didn't think you'd be able to pull it up that quickly. Well, can you, though? Didn't they delete all of that?
Cave variations. If I were to say you can expect to see dozens of new cave shapes on missions now, how would you interpret that statement?
How many cave shapes are they saying they're delivering?
Dozens. Well, dozen is... Oh, dozens.
Yeah.
The
word
so it's the
dozens.
plural of 12.
Yes, it is.
So that means at least 24.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it. And frankly,
but I know for a fact that's not true.
But this is more. But
12.
see, that's specific to them. But I think because I tried to look it up on Google, like the actual grammatical basis for this, and it was thoroughly unhelpful. Because it's not even like it's not even like any of the definitions treated it like the word dozen and dozens are the same. It's just they didn't address it.
Has this plagued you all night, Harry? Have you not been able to get this thing out of your head?
Which I hate in general is just that people, for some reason, use description ones like that when they it happens all the time when I'm working at McDonald's, right? They'll be like, "Oh, can I have a couple of fucking ketchups?" And I say, "Give them 2," and they're like, "Oh no, I meant 3." You
So there's no need to swear, sir. Like,
I mean, when it comes to McDonald's, though, I think
and
you
they say
usually
several, and they mean like 8 or something. Like they
that's
don't
kind of
say-
fair, I think.
they use the wrong fucking terminology for what it is, and they're probably using it in dozens isn't just like a lot.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
because
for the
Tyler
short time I
said
worked there, you just scale it along with what they actually have. Like if it's a fat fucking meal, you just throw in every bit of ketchup you have in there. Like,
I
job
just
done.
figure it out. But like,
Yeah.
Well, my opinion on that is that if you're thinking of,
people don't use them correctly.
well, no, if you
and they
want a
probably
specific
use them
amount,
correctly.
if you have a specific number in mind, you should be asking for that number. If you just
Yeah,
want a
but wouldn't that
generic
be weird,
amount,
though?
it's fine to say a couple or several, but don't
Like,
get
if
annoyed when you
you
don't
walked
get a
up-
specific amount. It's like,
If
what
you
is wrong with
walked
you?
up and you were like, I want 5 ketchup, 3 hot and spicy, and 1 like I don't know sauerkraut. Like that would feel
Sauerkraut?
really weird.
Sauerkraut.
I
Oh, do you know what
couldn't think of
sauerkraut
a third
is?
one.
It's cabbage.
I couldn't think of a third one. Point is, that would be really
Sour cream.
weird to give specific numbers. Although I feel like
Could have said
Deep
barbecue.
generally in their things, they have an aversion to being direct for most of that stuff until they get more technical further down.
I mean, there's
but
still
I
some
guess we'll get to that later.
vague
Dozens does
guarantees.
still allude to being a lot. Otherwise, they would have said few.
Yeah. There may be dozens, or
It would make more sense to
multiple
me
dozens.
because a dozen isn't an actual just 12 isn't actually a huge addition to cave shapes. I think
Yeah.
they do work a little bit differently to that. Also, it is we will talk about this directly now because they did make a point of it, and I think the reason they made a point of it is because of the way that they formatted the main content this season, which is actually this is something I've been dwelling on because we touched on it and we thought we kind of got it when we looked at patch notes, but I didn't quite realize how fucking kind of out there what they've done actually is, and that's why I think they brought up the cave shapes part of it, because they basically introduced a new mission type inside of other mission types, and then they've also added new cave shapes though, and like it's enough to like sustain if it was its own mission type. They'd sort of have enough cave shapes added if that's what they did. So it's a really interesting scenario. So we will go straight to that though. I think the main content.
Yeah, first things first. Tom, you don't actually know much about the thing, so as we're going to be explaining it, we'll explain it to anyone that doesn't know so far, who hasn't watched the video. And Tom,
I'll be that guy who's going to be using me as the idiot who doesn't know anything.
Basically, should we start with the warning, Harry? Since that is probably the main. It's basically the main element of gameplay. Well, kind of, yeah. So basically, Tom,
the new warning called Lithophage outbreak, right?
Yeah, they're on the map. You look at the map. There'll be 4 things unavailable, and all the ones available. It seems like 2 of those, unless Harry, you know that it changes.
3 biomes. It looks like, I think, actually. Or it could change. It could change.
Okay, so it might vary. So a amount of those biomes will be infected with a warning, basically, that severely increases. Like most of the missions in that biome will have that warning. And if you go into a mission with that warning on, you will have a secondary primary objective.
Well, I don't want to use the word secondary because I don't know how they're really labeling it. But if we look at the actual patch notes, it's like it says here, all missions with this warning come with 2 main objectives, and it actually lists like Lithophage outbreak objective, and then it says like first, and then you will need to do this, and then the second part is normal main objective, and it says secondly you will need to complete the normal. It's actually treating the Lithophage part as more important.
Yeah, but you'll notice that they use the word secondary like I did in being.
No, they use second.
You just said secondary.
No.
Okay. Point is, and what you probably understood from what I said, you have 2 primary objectives, and then obviously a secondary one. One being whatever mission you're there to do,
which is cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You're there.
It means that they're really going to diversify the bloody actual mission type things, which will be cool. It's just something I did not think about.
Yeah, because this was something I actually played around with recently. I mean, they definitely would have had that as the main concept before I even talked about it. But on the Deep Dive podcast, I talked about how I like the fact that Deep Dives have 2 primary objectives, and I wish that would go into like the main game.
Yeah,
and it turns out they have, which is sick.
But I think I don't know if they've actually mentioned it. That's the thing, because I don't think it is in the patch notes, because then we'd be able to actually say. But I'm not sure if this is like a warning. This is a warning that you would exclude from deep dives, basically. Is what I'm saying. And I think they have excluded it because it's like calling it a warning is slightly a disservice, because this is what I mean about how, you know, how big this actually is. It's that it's literally a warning that adds a whole primary objective. It's like a mission inside a mission.
It's a warning that adds a game mode to an already existing game mode.
Yes, it's kind of nuts. And it's like,
yeah,
and that, because obviously if that was in deep dives, then that mission would actually have 3 primary objectives.
Yeah,
which is kind of stupid.
It's unlikely. It's probably the same as, you know, industrial sabotage not being in deep dives. Yeah, they'll probably exclude it for now, but they might bring it in later.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later, because that's something that we can talk about. How they're handling previous content, but
yeah. And I guess we should probably now explain to you, and I guess anyone that doesn't know, what the actual warning is, which is also pretty fucking cool.
Well, yeah, so it's the warning. It's the actual content that it adds to the mission is twofold, I guess, because it adds the lithophage swarm type, as in that's as its own swarm, where it's like
you've seen the gameplay. Is that like what most of the enemies in the mission are, or just
no? I think there are some. But you do, and they
is it like elite enemies versus
no. What it's more like is you get the enemies around the actual rockpox formations, and the formations will summon those enemies as well. But you can also get hordes that are just those enemies. So that's the larvae, which will like basically face hug you, and there's also infected grunts and praetorians.
Yeah,
and
which. If you haven't seen, are pretty cool.
Yeah, so basically how infected enemies work, and at the moment it is just grunts and praetorians, but they're almost unkillable, except for a number of blisters, which are basically popped instantly. Like, they're super weak, and if you pop them all, the enemy just dies. But their actual body is... Well, yeah, I mean, but obviously Betsy's body is actually completely undamageable. Yeah. And you mentioned Betsy. That's not entirely irrelevant, because the actual model for the blisters is very obviously based on an old model of the parasites that are on Betsy. Like, just straight up.
Do you think we're gonna get more of like backstory to Betsy then?
No, because it's not actually the same species. No, because Betsy's parasites are very different.
Will they elaborate though?
Oh,
they might eventually, but then again, it's unlikely that they're going to come back to parasites as like a theme anytime soon, right? Especially if it's a different type of parasite. Like, it's like if they brought back robots, but it's a different rival company this time. It's essentially the same thing, even though it won't be lore-wise, which is why it's kind of lore-wise. What I think they should do, which is a bit of a retcon, but I think it'll be fair enough, is if Betsy is infected by a lithophage at this point. I think that would be cool, because currently the suckers, they're just kind of out of nowhere, right? They're not really a thing.
But now there's no sign of life on those things. Like, how did they get on Betsy?
And they're really a very light lore. Like, you know, they exist, and they only seem to exist on Betsy's. Not even like the machine events or any other machinery that's left down there. Only Betsy for some reason. Like, even though they suck energy, so you would imagine they'll be on like abandoned drop pods in like you know, those type of missions, like mini.
I just devised a pretty wild theory in my head, but I'll save that for later.
Yeah. But basically, I feel like it wouldn't be a bad shout, especially if we're going to get like a part 2, which I don't know.
We'll talk about that as well, maybe, on the podcast.
That's a lot
once
more
we get past. Yeah.
And probably an entire podcast later on as well, in like beginning next year. What season 4 is going to be. For now, let's enjoy season 3.
But yeah,
I'm sure we will.
So when it comes to one itself, one half is the enemies, like the swarms that it adds. And the other half is the I think they're just called the lithophage core spikes or something. I'm feeling pretty stupid right now. Right, yeah, lithophage outbreak objective. You will need to destroy the rockpox contagion spikes and the corruption that's spreading out of them. So I believe it does spread over time. And basically, once you find a spike, it's basically just this big glowing spiky bulb type thing that's at the center of like this growth.
Actually seen any of the anything top,
Yeah,
like the
oh,
infection.
Tom hasn't seen
No.
jack shit.
Basically, remember Rainbow Six Siege, like the infestation thing that they did, like the other game that we played, the Extraction. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't. Basically, it's a very black growth moss,
Black reddish
thing
growth
with like
yellow as
yellow
well.
tumors and yellow mist, which is basically essentially identical to that. They're very similar visually.
Yeah, it's basically when you find one of the spikes, you can cool down. It's just called the cleansing pod, but basically it's got 2 of each of these new, not weapons, I guess, tools. These new tools that you can use. And in terms of how you equip these, it's basically just like heavy objects. Basically, you can pick them up, and it's okay. It's like the fuel canisters from Beretta. That's exactly what they are.
Right.
So you can throw them around, but you also shoot with them, I guess. And it's the Litho foam and the Litho vac, and the foam one is like is more like the gun. It shoots this like blue foam that sticks to the bulbs, and then you suck.
Fucking LIFO means from biology.
And then you suck them up with the Litho vac, the vacuum.
Covering that shit in bloody biology like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And
What
once
does
you
rock mean?
what does rock mean? Yeah, Thomas Rock.
Well, it's wait, are you fucking stupid?
What does pox? What does pox mean?
Pox. No idea.
Yeah, what does pox mean? Yeah,
I don't know. I've heard it used on its own before. It's just like
it's just like illness, right?
illness. Yeah. Rock disease.
Yeah.
Rock blight. I like that. Good.
They should have used that. No, rock blight fine. Although a bit. I feel like their naming scheme for things are a bit cheap. I don't know if you noticed it, but like I think the examples themselves, the Litho vac for vacuum, the one Litho foam, right?
Yeah, it's a Litho foam.
They really do take like shortcuts for stuff like that.
And they seem to just also
pox,
have infinite ammo. And it seems fairly simple to switch between them as well, because you just throw one on the floor and pick another one up. But also, Bosco can do the vacuum part. You can just direct him towards it, and it'll just suck up the stuff that you've foamed. So that's pretty good for solo.
So
and once you've sucked up all the spores, the spike will sort of just fall apart, and that's one out of how many spikes you need to take care of done. And I think it ranges from 1 to 3 based on complexity, I would assume.
Yeah. All right, and this is the thing that I'm asking you now as well, is because on the trailer we saw basically if you step on the rockpox infected area without having it like foamed and cleared, you kind of get taken over.
I think so, but I thought it was these specific things, specific like because there's like these other. There are a few different types of growths, but like one of them spawns enemies or spawns the larvae. I think I don't know how it all works, but I think there's a few more hazards than just the enemies. Which is always good because it's not a huge number of enemies, but it's like, to be fair, it's like 3 enemies in an update. It's actually pretty good, right? That's just fine.
Like a lot bigger of a like mission thing than anything else that we've seen.
It's to me, it's actually the biggest in terms of the content out of the 3 seasons. Because the main content is going to have it's going to feel the most present in the game just throughout, I think.
Which obviously like really cool and everything, but like I think just shows like how much more there could be. Like we could have like really big normal missions.
Yeah. But I think it's also worth mentioning that like you say that it's gonna have a really big influence, and I think that's true. It shows that it's gonna take up like around half of the biomes you can play on. But also, I'm not sure. I haven't seen much. Obviously, you haven't played it, but like if you don't pick a mission with the Lithophage on, you aren't going to experience them, are you? Right?
Well, no, because the event occurs in ones that don't have the warning on. The meteorite.
But does the event even spawn Lithophage stuff?
I think it does. I'm pretty sure it
does.
Have
you seen it?
I think so. I mean, it must do, right?
So.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't must do.
Well, no, because all of the other events spawn rival enemies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Harry. That is exactly what I'm saying. They got called out on that. people don't like the robots, so they go into missions without robots, but then they get jumped by machine events that force them to fight robots, right? I thought maybe they'd learn from that, and the events don't
Okay,
inherently
alright,
mean
hold
you
on.
have to fight the enemy you don't want to deal with.
Hold on. Going off of the... No, because I think the point is... I think you are right. I think the point is that you actually prevent this from happening at
the
all,
infection.
right?
Yeah.
And because it tracks the... if we go off the patch notes alone, it doesn't mention lithophage enemies coming to it or coming out of it, but it mentions the locals being drawn in, which I guess if you let it all go through, I feel like if you fail, it should.
Maybe, because I think
That
it
would be
does
cool.
say the longer you wait, the more it kind of grows out of the area, which I'm not sure what that means. It doesn't look like it will infect the area in lithophage. It just looks like it will really mess it up with Meteor.
But at the same time, I'm still not done with the warning. Or actually, I suppose the lithophage enemies in particular, because the Praetorian is a charlatan. He fooled me. Because
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Harry's
so-
biggest shame.
yeah, I actually am really quite embarrassed about this. So the key art, it was a lithophage Praetorian being shown, right? But I can tell you, and I'm going to call out Ghost Ship here potentially. I think they just used a good dreadnought for that, because that jaw, that is not a Praetorian's jaw. That is not a Praetorian jaw, and it doesn't change when it turns into the lithophage variant. But color wise, yeah, it is correct, because the Praetorian's like armor changes to black, and it's got these like orange spots in it, and it actually looks really cool. Actually,
Yeah,
it looks
the
pretty
enemy looks
sick, and
terrific.
it also has maximum defense, which is pretty interesting because it is basically invulnerable if you don't shoot the blisters.
Oh my god, I just got a fucking loot bug out of a pumpkin for the first time ever. I didn't even think they were possible.
I'm so proud of you, Thomas.
Have you guys got one yet, though?
I have gotten at least one.
I haven't.
Two! What off it? What?
Thomas, shut up.
Yeah. Basically, the enemies are pretty sick. Not that we fought against them or anything, but
They look pretty cool. They also shoot stuff and have tentacles come out of them
I
sometimes.
think once again, because I don't want to just talk about what they are, because people know what they are. We've seen it. We've got all that. I want to talk a bit more in depth of what they mean, and I find it interesting that once again they've kind of chosen a weak point based enemy. Like the robots, obviously, kind of they had an elemental side to it too, but you also really need to kind of hit the weak points to deal with them effectively, right? Like they were pretty vulnerable to.
I think there's a
so, like,
difference to point out.
headshots.
Is that you're right in some ways, but I think I don't think they were thinking about weak points as much with the robots. As in, I think these guys were built around weak points.
Yeah, the
I
thing
think
is,
there's a
yeah.
difference.
weak point focused enemies that are really hard to kill in other regards do make the game quite a bit harder.
There's
when
a
you're just
very
trying to, like,
obvious weak point. So
and
I think there's a
everything.
difference. They came at it more with weak points in mind, and I think it just sort of happened with the robots. That they sort of just happened to make these very tanky enemies with quite unnoticeable weak points, in fact.
Sure, but like, I think we need to acknowledge that they're people and therefore have a train of thought where they may have made the robots just being like, okay, they'll have weak points pretty prominently on the head, and they'll have like elemental weaknesses that'll be strong as well, like obviously fire and melee, right? And coming out of that, they decided to double down in weak point as being like, because I obviously don't know, but like elements, are they particularly good against them?
Well, okay, I wouldn't say double
Flamethrower
down
and
so
cryo
much
just
as
will be, won't they? Because they will
Yeah,
just
they'll
phase
pierce.
through.
Yeah, because like, I think it was the thing. Like I didn't see it for much, but Harry, you showed me like their like at least the Praetorians like page on the bestiary or whatever it's called, Miner's manual, and it notes that like you won't always be able to hit all the weak points you can see.
no. The
right?
British
Like,
cutter's
yeah,
going to have a
like-
field day with this, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weapons with penetration like that, or that just go straight through the enemies, are going to feel the best way of dealing with
Yes,
those things.
but
which-
I wouldn't so much call it doubling down though on weak points so much as them trying to get a weak point based like faction right. Because I don't think if that was their focus with the robots, I don't think they got it right in that department. I think you've got multiple very prominent weak points and also 9 vulnerability on body shots. The robots were just very tanky on body shots, but also had quite difficult to hit weak points. Maybe not unnoticeable, but quite difficult to hit. I think it's just them trying to get it right
depends on
more so
how
than just doubling
fast-
down.
Because the difficulty with the robots was how quickly they fucking moved. Trying to hit a weak point is
By
the
the
only
way,
viable way to kill them, and they
'cause-
moved ridiculously fast.
I know you haven't watched the video. They nerfed Patrol Bot a lot. coming to season 3.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to.
No, we'll talk about it now.
Well, you can talk about that now if you want.
Yeah,
Robot specifically.
The patrol bot, basically, it got its damage nerfed in every single means, and its maneuverability and speed slowed down.
And you can freeze them.
And freezing
it's not in place. You can't stop them, but you can freeze them as if they are essentially frozen. They take 3 times
damage, but they still can move.
Yeah. What other? There's another thing that you can do like that on. You can't freeze properly. I can't remember what it is.
Freeze the
shellbacks.
Bowling, but I don't think they take
3
times damage.
They do.
Do they?
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. They take 3 times damage, but yeah, it just doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Still got the frozen icon next to him.
Yeah, and the armor. I think does the armor still block the damage though?
I don't know. Probably.
It probably still does.
Because it's still there. They're not actually frozen, but they just take.
I think that's an interesting thing that they now have a couple examples of enemies that can be frozen but not fully. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And to me, that it is one that it makes sense on because it's basically the. I mean, it
rebalances a lot of weapons. Like it's also it's making I don't know if it's going to make it broken, but as we said, it's making penetration stuff like breach cutter and flamethrower and cryo going to be way better.
Well, it depends on if the flamethrower and the cryo cannon can break the blisters.
Really gave flamethrower just like a new life and is now like wanted often. Like I actually would like a flamethrower now.
Which
just deal with
was
the
not
robots,
the case before.
Which I'd never want before because
which is a controversial take. Yeah.
I just prefer something else. You know, like if I'm having a driller, I'd rather a cryo. It makes it easier. But now flamethrower is going to be even more useful again.
Yeah, although I think, we haven't. I haven't seen. I don't know if you've seen, Harry, whether or not these enemies can be frozen.
They can be frozen, and I think slowdown effects are going to be valuable, but in a weird way because they can't be stunned. Neither of them. This is actually this is interesting. This is something I really like. Is that these are basically just variants of grunts and Praetorians, except they can't be stunned. And I think the point is they're just meant to be. They're not necessarily quick, but they're meant to be very difficult to stop, unless you do it in this quite specific way. But you can still freeze them, and I think other slowdown effects like electricity and neurotoxin, sort of stacking those things would be a good idea if you can't necessarily hit the weak points easily.
So how exactly do they work? Because I assume you've actually seen it in play. Is it like attacking their body deals no damage, and then hitting a weak point deals an obscene amount of damage?
Yeah,
or
they basically
they just have a ton of health and only weak points is actually boosts it enough to do damage.
Yeah, no, they do have a ton of health. I think.
Right, so they're
I think it is health based. Yeah,
because in that case, the neurotoxin is not as strong as it could be, right?
No, but it will still work on them.
Yeah, but if it's doing the normal amount of damage to health bar like that, then it.
Yeah, but the blisters feel very weak. You could still probably use neurotoxin payload because I think just hitting the weak points with anything just destroys them.
We talk about penetration, but AoE would also still work, right?
Neurotoxin payload increases AoE. Another reason why neurotoxin payload's broken.
Well, I mean, this is going to the realm of assumption, but I doubt you can break the multiple blisters with the grenade launcher. That would be pretty overpowered, actually, I think. But then again, when you have the breach cutter, probably be able to do that anyway.
The grenade launcher does damage in an area, right?
But I think they are weak points, Tyler. So I don't know exactly how it's going to work. That would strike me as a little bit odd. I think.
What? I'd be a lot more odd if I grenade launcher a weak point covered enemy and they survived. I think that would be a lot.
Well, no, realistically speaking, I agree with you, but I don't know why, and I can't. Yeah, I can't explain why, but it wouldn't quite sit right with me. I think there's a ballistics focus here, where bullets are where it's at to take these guys down, except for the breach cutter
and flamethrower cryo.
Yeah, but they don't.
It just isn't though, because when you're using bullets, you have to be accurate, and most of the time you just can't afford to do that because you're just busy shooting so many other things.
And if these guys are out in the middle of a normal swarm, you're not going to really be able to shoot the weak points that are behind them as well. So there are these unkillable things coming towards you that you can't really deal with bullets.
Because you just need to just point and shoot often.
Well, we'll see. But in the missions, and you can call them if you want lithophage missions, because that's not wrong. It seems like it spawns a lot more nitra. I think they call it lithophage.
Right.
I think it was supposed to be pronounced Lithophage.
Yeah, I think it is as well, but I'm
I
going
think it's
with
also
what they're
cooler
saying.
with Lithophage.
Yeah, I know.
No, tough. From now
but-
on, it's Lithophage.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
No, it is.
Sick. Either way, so this is going to be a weird thing to touch on, but it's actually pretty directly relevant. The miner's manual,
Right.
because so they added a miner's manual terminal in your cabin specifically, not just in the space. Obviously, it's in the space rig, but in your cabin, which means noobs have no excuse. That's really the point there, I think.
There we go.
What?
Just made that was a pretty good trade. Just made some dinner. There you go.
Dinner.
What?
Paid for dinner in trade.
What?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Made $20 in like
Thomas.
10 minutes.
Life hack. Do trading.
Oh
But
shit! Sorry,
yeah.
there's something I forgot to mention. Like I said, it looks like neither the grunts nor the Praetorians can be stunned or feared.
Right.
Oh, actually, maybe
That's
the grunts
pretty cool.
can. I think maybe it's just the Praetorians. But either way, I think they probably are resistant to fear. But you can fear them very easily with the foamer, the lithophoma.
Well, I think. Oh, first of all, that's cool.
It is
But
pretty
second
cool.
of all, I don't know why you're tooting these horns that big, because the robots are also completely immune to these things.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's just a Praetorian that can't be stunned. Actually, is actually preferred for me. I don't like stunning Praetorian. It usually just results in you getting hurt.
Yeah. Or yeah, I think it's just having a ground type enemy that isn't like
Well, it's an
affected by
oppressor,
that
though.
kind of stuff.
An oppressor, Tyler.
Exactly. But oppressor is like ground type plus. Right? And now we've got like pleb grounds that will just tank your fucking stun, tank your fucking fear. They don't give a shit. They will go to kill your ass.
They will
Like,
kill your ass till you're dead.
Well, oppressors are pretty much just put in for bunker countering.
which I still I will die on this hill. Oppressors were the best thing they ever added to the fucking game. They're amazing. They're like,
Oppressors are easily one of the
like,
best enemies. Possibly
best,
the best.
like design, best reason for addition, because players are like, haha, this exploit, and they're like, fuck you, here's an enemy type designed to mess with
but
that.
bunkering
Like,
still doesn't. It's not entirely. It's
still
not.
fine.
It's not
Yeah.
unviable. You know.
And we did it in the stream a while ago because we were in a real shit position.
Yeah, I think they could probably do with some more enemies that dig, like break through terrain, because like the people like they bury the objective.
Like
in
literally
a
just
hole and then
like
sit
literally a
on the top.
glyphid tunneler. It's just it's like a grunt type, but it digs.
I was just doing a salvage op, and
Yeah,
they did that.
yeah, and I think it should be like an
Kind of
enemy
chat
that
saying
like,
that it's a broken strat.
yeah, like it should be like an enemy that like I don't know if they'd be able to tell. I mean, I'm fine if they're like always there, but like there's something that only whips out if like the AI has noted that there isn't a possible path to their enemy, right, or to the dwarves, and so they just start spawning a bunch of tunnelers that like dig their way at different angles to where you are.
Mhm.
I think that would be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
I've got lost, but the point is that kind of problem solving by adding enemy types is cool, and they need to do that more. And I would argue this is a light version of that, since stun and fear is an incredibly used status effect, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it wasn't actually the case that fear was more common than stun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, or putting both of them still, they far exceed every other stat. They're like there's like 20 to 30 of each of them.
What's quite good though about the oppressor is you can still bunker though. So I wouldn't want that strategy to be completely taken out where you dig under the thing and ball yourself in. I don't want it to be completely taken out. It just needs to be a strategy that's actually like just as viable
Used
as the main
effectively.
strategy.
Yeah,
So there's
like,
like then multiple different ways to complete the mission.
yeah. And because even then, like with the example I gave, as long as you give the glyphids a way of getting into there, then the tunnelers won't spawn, right? So you just need to then funnel the enemies so there's a path, but it's a dead path. Like they'll just kill everything in the way. But then it's basically tunneling, and then an oppressor will come in. Point is, I've gotten lost. Season 3 is called.
All of the glyphids tunnel, though, don't they? When they spawn in.
Yeah, I suppose,
So
but they didn't really.
they all have the capability to tunnel.
Only some enemies actually like dig, which is normally the big ones. Really, oppressors should be able to dig. I think that would make sense.
Well, they can.
They do. They can.
Oh, then they should. More.
Yeah, but I think there should be a grunt type enemy that does that too. It just
Yeah, they
digs.
have like little shovels.
But
on
maybe
their hands.
but maybe it doesn't actually dig physically. Maybe it's like because they just rise out the ground anyway. Maybe it's like it just digs through the ground. It doesn't necessarily make a physical mark in the terrain. It's like a trawler.
Yeah, like a
Glyphid.
mole.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but that wouldn't really do anything, right? A single grunt every so often getting into
Well, it
your
wouldn't just
room.
be. It wouldn't be just a grunt, but it would be in that sort of. It would be that.
I think if they just created like holes slowly, in like breaking into your room, then I don't know, flooding the enemy. Point is, I want that in the game. Come on, Ghost Ship. I know you're listening.
Well, it'd be
you
an
can play that
ambusher,
card.
wouldn't it? It would actually open up ambush routes for the glyphids. What it would try to do.
Uh,
Either way, that's something else. That's an entirely different discussion.
that's for a different season. For now,
In general, with balancing through adding stuff though.
yeah, which is once again these enemy types. They are probably a bit like that. Yeah, the fact that they're, I don't know. I mean, they're more like grunt guards, I guess. You know, they're going to be enemies that will normally just kind of survive the horde.
But I think, yeah, but like I said, I think their presence in normal hordes isn't going to be that great. I think,
yeah,
because there will be some roaming around, but I don't. From what I saw, I don't think they just spawn in normal hordes. I think you got the roaming ones and you got their dedicated hordes. It seems to be. I might be wrong. There might be some just mixed in as well in those missions, just in the normal hordes, which I think there should be. I think you should feel because they are kind of still glyphids, you know what they are, but they're glyphid corpses, unfortunately. Which I think is funny with the Praetorian specifically.
Well, they don't actually know, do they? They said they have no idea if they're actually alive or dead under all that Lithophage.
But the Praetorian
way.
that's like that's basically like a corpse that they're parading around because the weak point is literally deactivated.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean anything.
I think if you kill the parasite and the host immediately dies, the host was never alive to begin with, or before the parasite, right? Like it was a parasite keeping them alive, if that. But yeah, I don't know.
And the point is that they basically
what a
make
parasite does is they kill the host so they can take over.
Yeah.
Like, they don't always keep it
parasite.
alive. They sometimes like kill parts of it so they can then replace that with themselves.
The wildest example of that, which I'm only going to mention now because if you don't know about it, you should. There's like a parasite in the ocean that like eats fish's tongues and replaces them. It just becomes their tongue. It's wild.
So basically, does that mean it eats instead of the fish?
I don't know. I think so. But like, yeah, literally, like, I think people fished up fish, and it was like an isopod looking thing was the fish's tongue, and it was just kind of staring up at them, like, "Yo, what's up?"
It's like Pacific Rim. It's not real life.
Yeah, it's wild.
And some parasites do sort of like try not to be noticed and just purely.
Women
replace
and then
it
obviously,
with themselves. So then when they're gone, the thing cannot survive anymore.
There's lots of different variants. Like obviously, there's parasites that we had in the game already, where they just kind of lived in the grunts. And I assume the grunts didn't really mind; they didn't have any less health.
Like
worms.
Ringworms and stuff like that.
Yeah, things you're ridden with, Thomas, with your appetite.
Thank you.
That was a really long-running joke I remembered recently. That like, because you just ate so much food that we were just convinced.
Oh my god, I forgot
worms.
about that. That you must have a tapeworm, which is how he eats so much.
Yeah, his entire digestion system is just a tapeworm.
Or multiple tapeworms
he puts in. Yeah, like it's funny.
So I'm still literally just skin and bones, and I eat about 5 times the amount of a normal human being.
Tom, I think you've got a friendly tapeworm. It just doesn't. It's not having a negative effect.
It's all that it wants, and it allows you the bare minimum. Like,
I mean, it means that Tom can eat a lot, which is good. Is it? Or do you get tired of eating sometimes?
I can put on weight now.
Really?
I can. Yeah, I have. I've proven that.
That's just the tapeworm sort of like bursting out, like increasing the
tapeworm
increasing
just getting
mass.
fatter. But
it's
yeah,
too full.
Yeah, that's what the parasites were in Deep Rock Galactic. But now they've taken more of a zombie-esque state. Like, isn't there like a snail? I know you've probably seen the video, like the snail eyes, where it's like a pulsating rainbow thing, which is actually that they've been infested with a parasite that's basically taken over their brain.
A shrimp thing.
No,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like a video you'll see on like Instagram or something.
I'm sure.
There are parasites that do just kind of kill the host and take over its body and then go spread to other things like it. I don't know how, but yeah, and that's what the parasites seem to be now with the new infection, which is a cooler version of the parasite. You've got to admit.
Oh, it's much cooler.
Which I think
is something
we need to acknowledge. There are 2 parasite warnings now, and one of them
is
slightly more interesting.
Damn, you're right. Well, hold on. This is another thing, though, isn't it? Because, like I said, I'm pretty sure that the Lithophage outbreak isn't going to be deep dives, but I wonder if it's also blacklisted from being a double warning. Because I kind of hope not. Actually, I don't see it because there's no reason to restrict what the double warnings can be, in my opinion.
Well, there's plenty of Lithophage missions to where at least one of them could be a double warning. I think that would be fair. I think it would be a weird thing to blacklist.
I was just saying it'd be pretty weird to see parasites come out of a Lithophage run.
Right, you could have double warning industrial sabotage, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm quite confident that you can have double warning Lithophage.
Yeah, but you know, you meant not this isn't going to be about industrial sabotage. But back to the miner's manual thing. I don't want to talk about them just adding one to the cabin. That's pretty good. But the point is how Lithophage outbreak is represented in the miner's manual is quite interesting, right? And this sort of gets into the implications realm because obviously it has a section in warnings, like under the warnings section. It's like, oh, there's Lithophage outbreak alongside all the others, like parasites and exploding infestation. But then it's also got its own entry in the mission section.
Oh.
Because it is one. And
I think that, I mean, obviously we kind of knew that it really it gave you a primary objective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just a normal warning, but the fact that we played around with that they'd break the walls and that it
this is what
be
they
one
this
or
is
the
something
other, but
this is
actually
a bit like what we thought it might do if it was an anomaly, that it would be like something about it was more necessary, perhaps.
Well, I think they ended up doing what we were thinking. They didn't do any of the normal options. I mean, technically it's a warning, but also technically it's a game mode.
It's not. Yeah, well, it's like it's not brand new, but it still represents to me. The implication here is they're just being a bit more malleable. It's just like fuck it. Yeah, a warning can also be a mission. Like these kind of implications mean that, and frankly, to me, it's sort of a bit early to say this, I think, but it seems like a way that. And it's maybe just the wrong term, but it's almost like a fallback formatting. As in, this is probably the most appropriate formatting for new content for all seasons, unless something just fits it better somehow. This makes a lot of sense to me. It's like this, like Rival Presence should have been something like this as well. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't know, because I don't think the issue is that. And I don't want to shit on the new warning, considering it's not even technically out yet, right? But like, the issue is that this warning is so much higher than even now Rival Presence as far as what it is.
Yeah, because it's in a new category, sort of a middle, like a mix between the two.
Exactly, which is why I think it's kind of like it should have been given a new category, really.
Probably should have done. I was thinking about this.
I think like a black icon
or green, or just a distinct color,
something like that.
Separate.
Yeah, where I don't know, because that would then also technically allow that like additional. It's like it would be like an additional primary objective warning quotations, right? It wouldn't be called a warning, but it would be called whatever that category is, and I think that would then not take away from every other warning in the game.
Yeah,
because
add like new paths for development.
Yeah, it would also. I think that might be the only reason why they haven't already done it. Because if they added a new category, it implies they're going to add more, right?
Yes, but I think it is a subcategory still.
There are a lot of differences.
Yeah, and I don't know. It does just kind of like because I joked about it a minute ago, but like the parasites that we had compared to what we have now. The fact they're classified as the same thing is a bit ridiculous. It's a bit goofy that like new equipment, a new primary objective, a new everything is put on the same level as them sometimes spawning some more of some enemies.
Exactly.
Right?
I think you're right. It should have been something else, but to me, the fact that it isn't sort of leaves this subcategory open to incorporating other things. Like you could do something similar with an anomaly, or even better, a new biome where it comes with its own extra primary objective, which might be a bit too much. I don't know, but that's sort of I think they've allowed themselves that by not creating a specific like category of modifier.
Yeah, I think they've definitely broken down the walls of what we think is and
yeah, so
isn't
that's what I'm
possible
saying.
in the
Maybe
game.
breaking down walls is better than like
biome-specific missions
segregating
wouldn't
things.
be bad.
Yeah, it wouldn't. What? Wait, what did you say?
Well,
Biome-specific mission types and categories and shit like that. So, like, yeah, you could get like the double missions in a specific biome, not guaranteed, but you could only get them in that biome potentially.
I think I have to put a foot in, not because this warning is huge, right? But it can still be in any biome. Like that is like so you could always have access to the content basically in any of the biomes, so it's not really limited. But if you only added a content to a certain biome, and bear in mind most if we added another biome, that would now be like 5 biomes out of circulation, right? Which is quite a lot. And the only way to really prevent the content not being available for like 2 hours, right, is if it was always allowed, always there during that
and
season,
then that biome would get stale quite quickly.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it would. You need to put in a bit more effort than that, than just adding a thing. But like, I'm on the side of I think biomes should be even more special than they are now. It's not relevant to the conversation at hand, but maybe each biome should have its own secondary objective that makes sense in that area.
It isn't guaranteed, but like
it's like an option. You know, it just can occur. Like sandblasted corridors, there's like cactus fruit. Every they collect 10 cactus fruit, and there'll be little cacti with little pink fruits on top. You pick it up. It's like it's like the normal voodoo cat kind of collection.
Crazy, but like some of them obviously could do a bit more effort in. But it would make biomes far more
individual,
enjoyable, and entertaining to play.
Like and I don't know, because the cactus ones maybe they could just spice them up a little bit. If you walk into it while picking it up, it does hurt you. Like it's a cactus, right? That kind of thing. Just slight levels of extra immersion in the biomes is something I'd rather than a biome specific game. I mean, which would then make, which again, like the warning thing, if they added a biome that had its own objective, all the other biomes in the game would look worse, right?
Yes, you're right.
That's also a thing, right? And it's the same thing with the warnings, although I would argue that Rival is not as bad as all the other warnings now, and even
which would just mean that then you simply need to obviously add other objectives for every other one.
Yeah, which would be obscene, because let's assume that that content would be the main part of a season, right? That would take like 6 months, assuming the same, right? 6 months on one biome, getting a whole new biome, so that would be an amount, and then its own game mode, which would be an amount. It would then take like probably 3 years before all the other biomes had its own game mode, and it would not be worth it, right? Like a game mode that you could only sometimes access due to most maps being locked out. But
you
for now,
I just really in like soft immersion. Slight changes to biomes. It makes the game feel far more engaging.
Well, yeah, that's kind of that's what. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's what we got with this season, but it is interesting that this infection is. It's not really biome specific, but it is kind of like it will always. It can be in like every biome at different times, which I think is pretty cool. I need to go get some like Edel pearls, so I'm gonna go do a mission in the like crystalline caverns. That's not Edel pearls, that's Shadis. But you go there.
I like that a lot.
With Lithophage, you're like, oh fire, like or just or it's not, and it's
I love that it's like if you want to do something specific, like getting the minerals, you have to go do a specific biome.
Yeah. But yeah, point is I don't know. I think this is pretty future breaking, right? Because we really were set in the like warning, game mode, anomaly, biome, and then like technically secondary objective, but we never really played with that idea.
We've just been thinking with it.
Well, Tyler, this is how if a secondary objective is going to be used to sort of deliver the main content of a season, that's what this is. That's how they should have done it, because it wouldn't have worked otherwise, just as a normal secondary objective. You sort of, to me, it's a little. That's why I think that's one of the pitfalls, or I guess flaws of season 2. that it's what it adds is never mandatory. Actually, the warning is just a warning. You don't have to destroy the turret controller. Like that's
Yeah.
and it could have been as simple as that. They could have made the turret controller another primary objective, but it
Or
didn't.
a secondary objective, which would have felt better.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but it's like, it's just
like-
very cool that they're starting to, and I say starting to. We don't know if they'll do something like this again, but I think they should. I think this is sort of what they're going to have to do from now on. Is sort of just break down the limitations that exist
because I feel like
the main
that's
game components.
That's what they have been doing recently, though, haven't they? Like the fact that the rival presence warning, with its fault not being reinforced, the fact that it physically adds something to a mission was immediately something more than the other warnings, right? And then obviously with the recent Oktoberfest, they broke through the just decoration and headgear sphere of the events. They added beers and in-game missions to do with the season pass, right? Like they are just like kind of deconstructing what they have. Like they're just like, oh, we do this, and that's the only way we do it, right? Like it's a holiday event, so we add some decorations and we give them headgears. Job done. Moving on. They are now like going back and like we could do more here, right? Like that kind of thing. Like, and it's
I think it took them doing the same thing twice in a row though to do that, right? Because industrial sabotage is different, and it was like presented a little bit differently to every other mission, but it wasn't too far beyond. And rival presence wasn't too far beyond other. It added stuff that mutators didn't normally add, but it wasn't too far beyond it either. So I think they had to do a warning, like to really to take warnings to another level. They had to sort of do the rival presence, which is a little bit of a step up. And then I think the next thing had to be a warning again, so they would realise, okay, if we're doing another warning, we need to go even further than rival presence. I think the reason we got this being the way it is because it's a warning again, and they thought, okay, we need to go even further now, because it's not like of a biome or an anomaly, it could have just been a little bit above what those normally are. But now that you have, like, the last season having a warning that's just a little bit more than normal warnings, you've got to go even further if you're just going to do a warning again. So I think that was to their benefit, actually, that they're doing a warning again. It's worked in their favour because it's shown how it sort of forced them to push a part of the game like even further, and I like that.
Well, yeah, I think they just felt like they wanted to, right? Because they could have just done anything. They could have done a biome. The caustic Myers could have brought that back. They could have just done an anomaly or something.
It's never going to happen.
Still running out hope, being the caustic Maya fans. But yeah,
it's at the bottom of like the deep rock iceberg.
It's probably not at the bottom. It's like
not at the bottom.
Maybe tier 2, maybe tier 3. Like not everyone knew about it, but it's also not really that.
Narrowmite is at the bottom.
No, that is not. That was brought to the surface a while ago.
Yeah, but a lot of people know about the caustic Maya.
There's like 1 or 2 ore that they never added to the game. And the like historian, TIG historian, right? He managed to like pull up, basically.
Well, no, he got Quantrite in game, but Narrowmite was never actually made.
Right. Yeah.
What an idiot! What a piss brain.
Yeah, I suppose let's move on to something else.
The event, because we wanted to.
We haven't actually talked about that yet. This
is
a bit you do
Meteor
know about,
Impact. Yeah. Well, actually, in the actual patch notes, this talks about sort of the what's going on, as in the rogue comment, the rogue comet, and it's like Hoxie's gravity is tearing it apart basically, and that's where all of these meteors coming from, and it says they carry with it a dormant form of rock pox. So you're not going to be necessarily facing the Lithophage during this event. But basically,
I want to mention 2 things. First of all, Tom, you can see the meteorite from the space rig. Just so you.
Well, when it comes to immersion, they got some stuff right here. Right, you can see stuff.
You can look out of the space rig window and see a meteorite hovering outside.
It's not hovering; it moves. It goes around the planet. Yeah, I've seen it in different positions. I don't know if maybe it changes between missions and doesn't actually just move.
Not now,
no, not now.
You haven't got the update yet, Tom. Calm down.
Oh no, but they might put it there before.
They could have, honestly, yeah, but I think That's not really.
I like those teaser types where the
Yeah, that's
leak
you
is
played,
in
like,
game for people to find.
yeah. I mean, that's like Sea of Thieves, right? They
Yeah.
they basically like like
They
2
do that. They
updates
do that.
before. Yeah, they're already teasing
Yeah.
like updates later on. Moving characters around, adding shelves to like beaches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I want to, yeah, but they even went further with the events this time, because, and it's just something we've never gotten, right? When it comes to events like machine events, like the seasonal events, or just any of like something like the core lock, it's always there when you get there. This is an event coming into existence mid mission. It's basically it just
Have you
happened.
seen this occur?
We saw it in the trailer occur.
Yeah,
It just comes through the sea. No, I haven't seen it in game. Not like that.
Not from like watching anyone, but like because I'm mixed on it because I'm not sure, and I want to really have it clarified to me, but I feel like it probably has been. But like there is a very solid chance that it is already there, and that you will just trigger it by going there, and then the meteorite will come down, and then obviously that event will occur.
Well,
and
yeah,
it will
it's
seem
already
like
there
it
in
was
a
random.
way. No, that's not.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. It was never going to be anything other than that. But it's all
but
about
it could be.
presentation. It's not
Could
about
it
what's
not?
actually going on in game. Of course, it's already loaded in, like above the like somewhere else, and then when you get to the point where it was going to be, it will just activate.
What, you're never under the impression that it was basically like a dreadnought swarm, that it could just occur?
No. I think the game already knew that event was going to be there. You just have to get to the point where it's going to spawn. But the fact that you see it spawn, you just see it come in, it's just on a presentation level. That's just really interesting. I just
also
appreciate
think
that.
like if you don't run the fuck away, you will get nuked.
Yeah, that's awesome. But at the same time, and this is why I need to see it in action, because from what we can tell, as cool as it seems presentation wise, it seems like it is kind of just like a hacking pod thing, and without robots. You get this thing and you hook it up and it cracks it open, and which is why I think there's this base level of engagement that I hope that is actually the case, where you get, because basically what you're meant to get out of this, what do they call them? I think they call them
Hearts.
Hearts of some
Something
kind.
or other hearts.
Plague hearts is what I thought, and to get like the season like challenge bonus. It's not challenge bonus. The bonus scripts. You need to get 6. And you get 3 from doing an event. But my position is that if it's meant to take 2 like events to get 1, but you always get 3 hearts every time you do one of the events, and you might as well just get 1. So I
you're
hope
aware that position is flawed, right?
no, because I hope that there's this
Why does the
base
core
level
drop 3 if they're all just worth stuff? They might as well just give you a big chunk. And
no,
it'd be
but
worth 3 times
no.
more.
But the core lock doesn't contribute to anything outside of the game. Like in the season terminal.
It's just immersion, or it's just a little something different, right? It's just
no, you're
just
right.
like,
but I'm saying they should have used this.
One.
They should have used this to add this sort of base level of interest where you actually it's like a third of the way through the event you get the first one, and then you could potentially fail and only come out with 1. That's how it should be. That's how it should be, in my opinion, just straight up. And if it's not, I'm not going to be annoyed, but I think that would be a missed opportunity. Because if that's not the case, what's actually different about it? Because it seems like it opens up like crevices though as well. I saw that, so maybe there's something going on there where it does introduce certain hazards. So I don't know, but presentation wise, it's up there, and I think just you never see like the omen being dropped in, because obviously that happened a bloody while ago. But that's how it must have happened, right? I assume, even though you can't see it, I assume at the bottom of the omen is some kind of drill that they just dropped them in at one point.
I assume, since you haven't seen gameplay of it, I assume there is like a giant hole in the ceiling as well from where it came from, right?
Yeah, it must be, right? There must be, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It will really like if you enter this room and you're like, wow, this cave is magical and beautiful, I love it, and then the meteorite appears, you're like, no. And it just gets absolutely destroyed. Ceiling smashed through, giant meteorite in the middle that's igniting the area, in very similar to Omen looking like rock. Like, yeah, I mean, at that point,
it needs to happen more often in the Azure Wield.
Yeah.
What
it
does?
is-
because it destroys the beautiful fucking biome.
Yeah, there needs to be like a cave cruiser, or not cave cruiser, the what's it, the flying one, just kind of flying peacefully overhead.
Cave Angel.
Cave Angel, yeah. And then the meteorite thing occurs.
Well, the
and
cave
you all
cruisers are
run
pretty
away,
peaceful.
run into cover, and as you're like just at the radius, you turn back and you see the Cave Angel just like looking at you, flying slowly towards you as they get crushed by the giant meteorite. Yeah, I want that to occur. I gain satisfaction from watching.
You are
things die.
sick.
Yes. Or you could try riding the cave cruiser out. Not cave cruiser. The Angel out of the radius, and maybe save its life. It's up to you.
Great.
Just so you know, I will shoot the thing, and you will die to the meteor if you try and do that. Point is yeah. I mean, once again, it's just what do we expect from events? Them to be in the cave when we get there. What is the event this time around? Not that. That kind
And
of thing.
they've also even just done a little bit more when it comes to
Absolutely incredible at thinking
form,
outside
like
the box.
the bonus things in the
Yeah.
performance pass.
I think that is the only issue, is that, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but so far the actual mechanics of the mission seems pretty default. Spawn in thing, connect thing to pipes, defend thing, explosion.
Oh, the event, yeah, that's what I did say.
script,
That it seems
right?
quite.
Yeah.
Like you can sort of boil it down to a form of the.
There's a chance it's not that. We haven't played it, and we haven't seen them do it, but it looks like that's the case. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think they use their gameplay part on the actual warning / mission, right? The new tools and all that stuff. They seem like they've kind of toned it back as far as gameplay is concerned, because I think that is like their like, okay, just have this kind of gameplay mechanic, just protect this thing for a little bit, right?
I focus
just
more on
what
the
they kind of been
presentation,
doing.
it seems, and the gameplay,
Yeah.
and the warning seems like a healthy mix of both, actually, because I think a lot of people are going to appreciate when it comes to new enemies that they do stand out, but at the same time they are also glyphids, which I think they did something really clever there. I think that there's a sense of familiarity, but they also like work quite differently, and that's sort of what people needed. I think.
I want to see because like I want them to be broken and unfun, but I want people to not complain about it because they're not overcome with,
because
like,
they're glyphids.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they're glyphids, so I'm fine with them being broken and stuff like that. Or like, yeah. Well, they won't say that, but they'll just, because robots, they weren't perfect, but they also weren't as bad as people made them out to be, just because they were alien rivals. But yeah, now that we're very glyphid-like enemies, and the parasites don't look like they're going to be that bad either.
What?
I don't have enough credits for my scout promotion.
What, the larvae?
Yeah.
Well, the larvae, they are basically like parasites. They'll die in one hit, but there seems like there's quite a lot of them, and obviously they like basically freeze you.
Do they
They
do
get on
like
you.
that tying effect or whatever?
Yeah,
that is?
and you have to like move the left stick till they get out of it.
Right, so it's a bit like Frozen, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you get like damage while in it?
Yeah, it's like damage over time. It's like poison.
All right.
But obviously, it takes time to build up to getting to that point. I think you can.
Yeah.
I don't know how you stop it from happening. I don't know. But
Don't be near the
like I said,
anything.
they introduced another enemy that can't be stunned. At the same time, they also introduced the longest stun in the game with our little friend, the boomerang.
Right. Are we moving on to grenades now? That's
I think
transition?
so. Well, yeah, but
Okay.
yeah. So it's the scout one, the voltaic stun sweeper, and it stuns for 8.5 seconds.
We told you what your grenade was a while ago, right? You probably don't remember, but I mean, what grenade do you use, Tom, as scout?
Cryo, obviously.
Obviously, that is true. Statistically, that is the most predictable thing. But we're going to go through the actual stats that we know now, and we'll see if you change your mind without using it first.
Yes. Voltaic stun sweeper, you carry 8 of them. Oh, well, you don't carry 8, you have 8 uses of the
You
one.
can't throw them all at the same time. You only have one.
Impact damage 35, max bounce is 9, so that's 9 hits per throw, each doing 35 damage each. And I am, because I'm a little fella, I'm going to do some calculations. But they also have every hit that can separately apply an 8.5 second stun. And they also electrocute, which isn't actually mentioned in the stats in the equipment terminal. They also apply electricity. And it seems like they almost kill grunts on each hit. Like, one hit will almost kill a grunt. That's my clock, not a calculator.
Yeah, they sound good.
They do seem pretty good. Hold on. That's 72 hits in total. 2,520 direct damage in total. And it will probably be melee damage too, which is... We actually still don't know that. I mean, I guess we probably do. Someone knows. A lot of people probably know because they've been using
Well,
it.
if it's impact damage, it might be like the impact axes. The impact damage doesn't count as melee, does it, on them?
Tyler, I assume you muted yourself for a reason.
Yeah. I mean the impact part is the melee part.
Yeah.
There's like AOE, lightning, or electric, right? And then there's the actual.
Oh, I don't think it's
impact.
AoE. I think it just applies electricity directly. I don't think it's electric arc.
That's the axes. The AOE part of the axes.
Oh, what?
I think that's it looks like electricity, but yeah. So yeah, and then the impact part is after, and I think that's the melee bit that will give you vampire. But yeah, so there is a chance. I mean, I assume we should know by now, right? There's probably videos of people using it. Although it does look like it'd be a bit of a pain in the ass to actually kill medium plus sized enemies with the boomerang. It seems to be a much better use against smaller targets.
Yeah, I will say though, and this is actually really cool. You don't just use one if you throw it. Like, so if there's no enemies around, you can throw it and it will come back to you without using a charge. And
so
what I want
to have fun.
Well, what I want to see is if that can damage like foliage without using a charge. I haven't seen that either, but that's what I would hope, because
I think this is interesting.
Scout kind of deserves that, in my opinion.
I think this is interesting because, like, you know how like the axes, they're like overpowered as hell, you know the whole shindig, right? But like also cryos kind of are, like cryos reign supreme over Scout. I like that their train of thought might have been, you know what we need to do? We need to add the axes to Scout and see which one wins, and if it balances out. That's how they balanced it, right? Like, yeah, let's just add like axes over to fucking Scouts. Here it goes. Give it like all the same utility. Like if you can vampire, it will essentially be the same thing.
Here's what I'll say about that. When it comes to actual damage, so you're not going to be taking out hordes of grunts with an impact axe, but you can take out a couple grunts at a time. Obviously, you can one shot them, but like from the footage I've seen, 2 boomerangs will easily kill, like as in 2 hits from a boomerang. Oh, fucking hell! I just hit my earphones off my head. 2 hits from a boomerang will kill a single grunt if you let the electricity do the work as well. You like, and I guess you'll have to because you can't throw 2 at the same time, and it won't hit more than one enemy. Like it won't hit the same enemy twice. It looks like as well. It does. Well, in that case,
on the video, it hit like the floaters at the back. There was like a swarmer, and then it hit the front 2 grunts. They bounce on top of each other. Hit one twice. So
what I'll say about that is,
it looked like it did. At least.
Mathematically, they're actually stronger than axes.
You're right,
aren't they? Though.
Probably, yeah.
Well, that sounds like it to me, but they still won't be. At the same time, they're not in the same class, so we'll see how that pans out. Because I reckon people are still going to use cryos and probably still use IFGs as well. I don't know.
I can't see it.
You think IFGs are going down the drain?
Well, realistically, right? Electric. It's going to be, what electric would you rather? The one that does no damage or the one that does a lot of damage?
This is what I think about though, because I've never seen anyone talk about how IFGs are basically meant for bosses, and that's not going to change. I mean, actually, to be fair, the boomerangs, if they can hit the same enemy one at once, then they'll have a UC hit bosses too.
Well,
They're just doing damage.
I don't think they'll hit the same enemy more than once if there's only one enemy. I just think it can bounce between enemies multiple times.
Yeah,
I think that is implied.
Yeah.
It won't just bounce on one enemy.
So, well, if the
times.
twins are close enough,
yeah,
maybe.
But I don't know. Yeah, the boomerang. I mean, we'll know pretty soon, won't we? I mean, it won't take long until they start tinkering with the balance.
Yes.
Have you? Because when they added the secondaries, there was a pretty immediate talk about balancing. But have you actually seen anything about the grenades? Too strong, too weak?
Well, no, because like I said, all of these sections on the experimental branch have just disappeared from Discord, so I can't look at discussion or like screenshots people have taken. I don't know what's going on. It's really annoying.
Right.
It's really really fucking me up.
I mean, you haven't checked on the Reddit or anything?
Well, I am on the Reddit right now.
All right. Well, don't be. We're recording a video, Harry. Jesus Christ.
No, not in that sense. I'm looking for stuff like that. That's what I'm looking for.
Some people.
It's gonna make. I mean, I don't know what you would say, but make sure Tommy's still here. Yeah, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
What's going on?
Not much. If you're listening,
well, he should have been listening, so he can sort of say something.
Do you see the boomerangs overtaking the cryo? In your minds?
No.
No.
There you go.
No. I think they'll be good. I think they'll be really, really good. But that doesn't mean that they'll be better. Cryo is just really good and incredibly useful for Scout.
Yeah, but I think the boomerang.
There's a Praetorian right in front of you. Freeze him, insta dead. Oh, there's Swarmers, Cryo, they're all dead. There's a Reader, freeze them, dead.
But you could just take Cryo bolts and then also boomerangs.
Spitball Infector, freeze it, dead.
But I feel like the boomerangs aren't far off that. And you get a lot more of them, right? Like if you say Praetorian hit with a boomerang, and then it would go off do other things if there's other enemies, but like they'd be pretty stunned for an amount of time. The stun seems strong on them, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Praetorian still resists stun for a certain amount, but yeah, that will be the longest stun.
And electrified, and obviously Scout has a lot of abilities where he can do more electric damage, like on his secondaries. So you will still get a damage boost, not to mention the damage of the thing, which
depends on how easy it is to use.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, but
Scout's Cryo, like perfect because you literally throw it and instantly it has the effect. Like instantly, it's one of the fastest acting fucking grenades. Impact axe.
Yeah, I mean,
and Scout is just speed. He's pure speed. He's constantly moving incredibly fast. That's how he lives. That has to stay alive. And he only stays alive by moving incredibly fast. If that boomerang takes any sort of period of time, the Cryo could do it faster.
Yeah.
It's all about speed. If you sit still for like 10 seconds, you die.
About speed, about power. But the boomerangs seem fairly quick, and they can. I think.
You might be able to if you can use them while you're moving, and then it'll just come back to you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and also like
that might work still.
If you're just being like throttled by
do about
shockers.
Swarmers, like Cryo is literally like a real get out jail free card. Really, really helpful.
Yes, that's true. But you sort of like I think that the boomerangs have a high chance of being good against Swarmers more often, even though it will cap at 9. Obviously, you're not able to kill more than 9 Swarmers with a boomerang. But you do have 8 boomerangs.
If there's more than 9 Swarmers Scout, you should be running to your teammate anyway.
Yeah, and also you are Scout, you've got a grappling hook. But also, if you're being like throttled by shockers and Swarmers, you're not moving isn't as easy. And having sort of 8 of those get out of jail free cards, I think is quite exciting.
Yeah, certainly. I think it would be good because Scout does kind of lack the weapons of everything else, and having like then a pure damage thing will be very helpful.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on that. It's his pure damage grenade.
Yeah, like Driller, for example, has like. I mean, Scout has not had a pure damage grenade before, has he?
No.
He's never had a grenade that does actual damage on contact.
Yeah. Pheromone is the closest to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's indirect.
It does direct damage. It causes other things to do damage. Cryo doesn't do any damage at all. and IFGs don't do any damage at all.
Yeah. So it is something else.
So that will be really, really
It's all
good
about breaking
for
down
him.
barriers. What the
Yeah.
season is.
Because literally, he just has primary, secondary. Like all the other guys have their grenade because that does damage. They also like Driller even has this fucking traversal tool, and like the other ones also have their utility, which also can often be used in like combat wise and shit.
Good on Scout.
Yeah.
That Scout just has primary, secondary, the only things that can do damage.
Which, speaking
that's
of,
it.
I think I may have
Which
actually
aren't
told
exactly really
you,
good.
GK buffed. Apparently,
Yeah,
a pretty
GK
good.
buff.
I
Well needed.
Yeah, overall damage, overall ammo. Although apparently Bullets of Mercy is actually worse. I
How?
can't remember where I read this. I think it was in
It's
a comment
probably
section.
because if they're buffing everything else, then Bullets of Mercy will just then be buffed with it, and they probably saw that it would be too strong with the
Well,
additional.
No, they didn't actually
Yeah.
nerf it though.
Yeah,
If you look at the
I
notes
think
themselves, they increased the damage bonus. So
I don't know. Don't do that sound. No, but yeah, apparently Bullets of Mercy. Oh, it's the weak point. Apparently, the removal of weak point bonus on the gun by default makes Bullets of Mercy somehow worse. But the AO stability is apparently hot and spicy, which I'm pretty hyped for because
Well, I mean,
that's the only thing I like.
they
from the
kind
GK.
of buffed the shit out of a stability engine and super cooling chamber.
Yeah.
Because the
that's
super cooling
another
chamber one
thing,
is crazy, actually. Because I've
The
seen this in action.
M1000 got hella buffed as well.
Yeah, I've
or
seen
hella fixed. I would have argue.
Yeah, I've seen it in action, and basically, super cooling chamber. It can. So this, I don't know how good it is at the moment in terms of like how much damage you can do to Praetorian, but it can basically two-shot Praetorian, and I think that is good, right? Like focus shots, like it'll be left on a sliver. If you use 2 focus shots on a Praetorian's weak point, that is good, right?
That'd be really good.
And I think it can one-shot Spitballers, and it can one-shot Goo Bombers. I know that. Because basically what they did, they
That's
increased the
nice.
actual focus shot bonus, but they also added like a weak point multiplier just straight up. So now it does it inherently does 3 times damage to weak points. So when you have like Manatera that already have that, it's like it goes even. It's like it's pretty difficult to comprehend, but they did something that they haven't actually done before when it comes to weak point damage bonuses. And I think Super Cooling Chamber is, as long as the ammo still isn't a problem, I think it's going to quickly rise up and become the actual, not like the actual opposite of hipster, as in they're like different but equal. I think it might happen, and it should happen. But at the same time, hipster they still need to get things in balance. Like they didn't nerf hipster for some reason. Like I'm confused.
Because hipster, is it that good? It's
No,
just ammo.
Tony, that's what needs to be changed though. It's just the simple practice, the thing that they do quite often of just moving ammo from something onto the base weapon.
I suppose.
Which is what they should do with hipster and RJ250.
The issue is now though is if they were to do that with
Definitely,
hipster, then I
that's
think
why I
super
kind of
cooling chambers would probably launch up because then that would
Super
be
cooling chamber,
more
you just
ammo
never have
and
enough ammo at all. And I know that's unstable, which is kind of the thing, but like you just always run out, and that's why I just can't feasibly use it unless your secondary is just like.
Not to mention it's
odd
very
tier.
bad right now,
Well,
Tom.
I think
It's not very bad.
It doesn't work how it's supposed to.
No,
in a bad way.
no, they didn't change the ammo that much. They reduced the magazine size a little bit. But like gave you a little bit more ammo, so I think it's fairly equal. They just made it a lot stronger directly, which I think is quite nice. They don't usually do that, so I'm pretty happy about that. Just just here you go.
Scout buff.
And yeah, obviously, like I said about AI stability engine, like the deep core had its base damage increased anyway, and then they reduced the damage penalty of AI stability engine, and they increased the weak point bonus. So it's like, what? And then electrifying reload, we didn't even talk about that. They basically made it like a mini embedded detonators. Oh wow,
pretty rad. Try and reload Tom on the they made it so like it's just better overall. The electric's better, but also if you shoot more bullets into an enemy, it deals more damage on the reload. So yeah, it's
Well, no, I think it's like EM Refi Booster, because EM Refi Booster, it says that it adds electric damage, but it's actually adding electric damage to the bullets. I think so. The wording, what you're saying makes more sense, but based on how it is worded and based on like previous iterations of this. It basically means it will just deal a little bit of electric type damage when you reload as well. I don't think it's added onto the electrocution effect. Although that would probably make more sense. But going off wording and precedent.
Yeah, I didn't think it would make the electric stronger. Just
Okay,
deal
no,
more
no.
damage on reload.
Yeah. It does it's like a very mini embedded detonators.
But it also has a status effect tied to it. So
Yes,
could
it
equal
does.
out.
I just realised it's like the least fucking unstable overclock.
What is?
It is a bit weird.
Electrifying reload.
They both will
'cause
be after this.
Its negative isn't. It says less ammo. The less ammo really isn't much, and slightly lower magazine capacity. It's 5 less.
Yeah, well, that's because the positive it had wasn't that good either.
I mean, I
That's
always
true.
thought it was one of the best things that it had. I think it's gonna, in fact, it's getting even better.
Yeah. Well,
Pretty
yeah,
crazy.
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that'll probably like GK2 method potentially.
Since at this point we've covered most of the gun changes.
Well, no, I think we should stay
suppose-
on Scout, and then we'll move on to Driller with the
Have we not
with the Ripper.
done Scout?
No, we'll stay
Alright.
on Scout until we're done with Scout, but then we'll go to the Ripper, and that'll
Yeah,
be the
but
Driller
are we
section.
not done with Scout?
Oh, electrocuting focus shot. They just increased the damage and duration. Why didn't that get the same treatment as electrifying reload? But yeah, we're done with Scout. But let's go to Driller then. So that includes the Ripper. So Driller's new Grenoid.
Did you watch that, Tom? It's so good, and it's even better now that they because they were gonna nerf it, but they really didn't nerf it as much as I thought they would. Like it still looks pretty fucking rad.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Ripper is just like a buzzsaw that just rolls around, and you do have 6 of them. Which we guessed.
Remember that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
thought you'd have 6, and it lasts for 7.75 seconds, which that number is obviously a result of a nerf, because it was probably just like 10, probably, or 8, I don't know.
10 or
Probably
12 before.
12.
Just kept going.
Well,
They were lasted a while in the other one.
yeah, but Tyler, I don't think the clip was even 7 seconds long, though, that's the thing.
Shut up.
Either way, yeah, and it also does 145 damage per hit, but it seems like it can hit basically an infinite number of enemies, just as long as it's within the duration. So, that's
Yeah,
pretty wild, and it's also enough to
it-
one-shot grunts. Not anything else, though. I mean, obviously web splitters, but, a grunt or anything with less health than a grunt. But not shredded, not slashers. Slashers have more health than this.
Yeah.
Basically, I think it could still be broken very easily. I don't.
The thing is, once again, it being broken doesn't even mean it'll be that used. But I think
it will have a camp like immediately. There'll be a group of people who just dedicate themselves to it.
Yeah,
But it
there's a
won't
group of
necessarily
people
be the
that
meta.
dedicate themselves to the HE.
Yeah,
Like,
but it'll be a
doesn't
bit
mean it-
different. I think this will be
Yeah.
born out of its birth. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, look at
well,
this
no.
new thing. There'll be a camp of people who immediately defer to it as like the new king, even if it isn't. That's what I'm saying. No one
Yeah.
actually thinks the HEs are better than the Impact X's.
Well, the thing is I am very much looking forward to the Ripper, but I also can acknowledge the fact that he doesn't really need it. It is not that important for his arsenal. Like, wow, it can kill an ungodly horde of grunts in a tight area. That describes all of his primaries. Satchel charge, all of that. It doesn't actually add anything new to his arsenal, unlike what the axe does, which is high burst single target damage.
But
So
the Ripper does like pretty much the same amount of damage, but it could also do it to a lot more enemies.
yeah, but you can't do it as quickly. Well, it depends on the area. Point is that as much as I am going to be in that team, I can acknowledge that there is a low chance that it's actually going to be better than the axes for a driller. Axes
driller,
will still
yeah.
probably be the better pick, but yeah, the Ripper is still going to be immensely strong and will be used an ungodly amount. just because it's fun.
Well, let's see.
That's pretty much
I'm
it.
gonna see. I have no real grounds for this, but to be honest, I think the Ripper will be a stronger. It is a stronger grenade than the Axes, but the Axes are still going to be better for Driller.
Yeah,
That is basically what you're saying. It's just
especially because
it's not going to change.
I don't believe the Ripper will do melee damage because it shouldn't. But there is still a part of me that think it might for some goddamn reason.
It does not. I mean, if it does, it doesn't activate Vampire, Tyler. That's all you need to know.
Right.
So good luck with that.
Yeah, so still, even then, right? I mean, the fact it doesn't activate Vampire, that's a tick to the Axes. All right, that's still going to be a Vampire build with.
Well, that's something that the Axes had over the other two already, though.
I know. Axes has everything over all the other two, Harry. Don't bother bringing them up. They're not worth bringing
AoE.
up.
That's not the problem. Is the thing that the Impact Axes lack is something that isn't needed. So it's just this really weird situation where somehow just like Ghost Ship just accidentally made something that literally cannot be superseded.
Yeah.
It's actually impossible to do without nerfing the Axes. So is that going to happen? I don't know.
They need to do something more than what they have. I mean, these gun balances have been amazing, especially with. And I'm going to move on
the
to Driller ones now.
Driller changes. Yeah.
They did some cool things on Driller. Not that you really care, but it's more the implications are pretty rad.
Flying Nightmare. Oh, sorry, not Flying Nightmare. Burning Nightmare.
Yeah,
to me in the
they
morning.
mixed Flying Nightmare and the fire on like hit over tier 5
Burn
together.
and Flying Nightmare.
Just straight up, they're just like, you know what? Have the same tier 5, 2 tier 5s in one. Just have that. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Yeah, cool. Yeah. And then they added another one as well on like the what they did for the sludge, and now it has like area of effect, which I'm really not sure.
Yeah, Plasma Splash.
How good that's going to be.
It's probably not going to be very good.
The combination of those things would be really good for fucking goo setting it on fire.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, as far as we know, Flying Nightmare will be able to set things on fire, but at the same time, it doesn't really say that.
The thing is that I mean, well, honestly, a thing has just clicked to my head, and I realize I'm never not going to use that Flying Nightmare. Because remember how I used to have a build where I'd freeze everything and then shoot a Flying Nightmare through them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it can. Exactly, I think it can.
Yeah.
The problem is, it doesn't actually say it sets things on fire. It doesn't say that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to. It says it deals fire damage.
That doesn't mean that. No, that's not what that means.
Shock.
It needs to do heat to do that. This is the
Well,
problem, and I think this might be.
Do it, Harry.
I know. It definitely should apply heat, but it
So it
doesn't say
does.
that it does.
No, but it does though.
So you
Because
think it's
even
Ghost
if-
Ship just being
They don't
stupid
care
again with how
about
they.
how they word status.
I know.
effects
I
and
know. That's what I'm thinking about.
So don't bother. Because why would they have a tier 5 which adds fire and then you remove that? Yeah, so
I know. You're right.
Yeah, yeah, and this is absolutely fucking amazing, right? Because this build I loved. I only kind of stopped using because of 2 reasons. Basically, the charge time on it wasn't good. Because I had to focus on doing enough damage to kill things that are frozen, which wasn't hard, but it needed a bit of like a damage upgrade. And so the charge on the EPC was kind of annoying, especially since you guys would probably kill them before I got around to it. But if I don't need to upgrade the damage because it just will temperature shock everything it touches, it's going to be fucking amazing.
It's also amazing for Goo Bomber Special, Tyler.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Goo Bomber
Or just
Special.
the Sludge Pump in general.
Anything in a straight line, it would just get absolutely destroyed.
Mollywopped.
And it's just, yeah, I think I don't know, that's going to be it for me. I think that's going to be the only secondary I ever use from now on is EPC with that. Because also it will be an actual. It's one of those things that I talked about on our Overclock workshop. It is a tier 5 upgrade that works with both versions. It has a charge shot effect and a normal shot effect.
Yeah, probably should be like. Unstable overclock or something.
It ain't.
Oh
I
shit,
can,
son.
if I want, I can pick heavy hitter and have the flying nightmare positive, or I can spec into like charge shot or whatever, buff the flying nightmare, and still have the heat normal shots. Either
Something
way,
crazy's
it's going to
going
be
on.
fucking amazing. And
And then
I'm
Plasma
actually.
Splash will just get left in the dust because
And Plasma Slash is something that I feel like it's either something they thought they needed to add, which wasn't that amazing, or it's going to be something. There's going to be a part of it that they buffed or that we didn't think of, and it's going to actually just be legitimately like fucking groundbreaking. It's like, oh my god, Plasma Smash, holy shit, I didn't know this could be this strong.
I mean, unless
Like,
it
stuff like that.
bounces. I mean, then in that case,
But yeah, for now that is immeasurable. And then there was the other weird one. They added something to the Sabata
yeah.
Tob. It's
Oh
pretty
shit, we didn't
interesting.
talk about gas recycling.
What are they doing?
Right, Sabata.
That basically, you know, the Sparta has two tier 5s, one that does more damage to fire, one that has more damage to Mactera.
Yeah.
Matera's
The one
gone.
Is it gone?
Yeah,
Oh, what, they straight out
they
removed the Mactera
reworked
part?
it. Yeah, it's completely changed.
Right.
Changed to acid-coated bullets, and it just basically what it adds. It just adds 2 corrosive damage to it. So it's like basically just a flat damage upgrade, just at +2 damage, but it's not. It's damage that isn't like affected by weak points. Basically, what it is.
And you know that it doesn't afflict corrosion, right?
Okay, I guess I can't say that, but I saw it in game. Like Snowing Fate looked at it in like the equipment terminal, and it just shows adds 2 corrosive damage, not adds not like inflicts corrosion. Adds 2 corrosive damage, like the
Right.
bullets.
But does corrosive damage, does that have like a armor breaking buff on it?
No,
something?
I don't think that's how it would work.
Why wouldn't it be how that works?
Because that's the status effect, not the damage type.
But the damage type is surely what the status effect does, right?
No, I think I think the status effect just also melts armor. And the status effect of an enemy being corroded means that they slowly just lose armor and take corrosive damage. That's the best way to word it, I think. You need to separate status effects. Obviously, they deal that damage type, but the damage type isn't the status effect. It's very difficult.
Yeah, but do you know whether or not the damage type is what's breaking the armor? Yes or no?
I'll tell you that I'm going to say that it's not because they had to add armor breaking to the sludge pump from an upgrade. That was separate from it.
Yeah, but do you know whether or not that armor break was added to the corrosive damage type or the sludge pump like status effect?
No, I don't know.
You don't, do you?
No, I don't.
So until you do, I believe that it might have armor breaking buff slightly because I don't see the point in specifying 2 corrosion damage when they might as well just add normal damage.
No,
it just doesn't make any sense.
It does. It makes a little bit of sense. It could be there's a few different types. It could be, but it's meant to be just flat damage, as in like I said, not even you don't get weak point bonuses from it. Because it's not.
Oh, so it's
not
actually,
kinetic damage.
They tried to nerf.
It's like Ian Refire Booster, where it adds 2 electric damage. It adds 2 damage, but it's not like you get weak point damage from it.
They thought just adding a 2 damage upgrade to the Sabata would have made it too broken, so they had to make the damage not as strong. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, but obviously it will deal more damage to things that are weak to corrosion. Basically just robots.
Right. But how much damage does the doing enemies on fire do? Buff.
Oh god, hold on, isn't it something stupid? It's like plus 80% or something, isn't it? Or is it 50?
I do not think it's anything like that. But it was like
50.
10.
It's 50. It's 50, Tyler.
Right.
I thought 10.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you'd pick the other one if you're using anything other than fire, but like, why use the Sabata if you're not using fire? Like,
well, because I guess it wouldn't make it stronger against frozen enemies either, would it? And then what the hell? Like it pairs well with the sludge pump either. I don't know. I think it's still better than it's still better than Mactera toxin.
I'm sure, but I don't know why there wasn't both. Well, they
Well,
could have
maybe they
added a new
should've-
tier 5. First of all, there's a room. Second of all, they could have left the Mactera positive because it didn't do much. They might as well have had both there. So then, that seemed more valid of a thing to pick. Because for now, that corrosion thing just seems kind of dumb. Just like, okay, I mean, we're happy, yeah, damage boost.
Maybe
but what a weird way of going about it.
Maybe they should have just added like volatile bullets, but for frozen and corrosion. Maybe they should have just done that instead.
Just what of all of its
Like,
things, like 50%.
Yeah,
ice,
but it's like
50%.
because it's not because it's not a Bullets of Mercy style overclock. You can have like the choice of the three as your tier 5 mods, like which. So it's you literally just directly choose for your primary, and that would just help the Sabata in a lot of ways. I think that's what they should have done.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it should have been a bit like they should have done that, but it should have been a bit tactful, like 50% fire, 50% corrosion, and then like I don't know, +2 kinetic or +3 kinetic. So like technically it's buffing against ice, but isn't technically saying it either.
It should be specific. It should just be three
Well,
separately.
no, because you wouldn't be able to give an extra 50% against ice because that would be by far the best one.
Yeah, but only if you're using the cryo cannon.
Yeah, but you would then do all the time because it's by far the best one. Kind of how that works.
Don't care.
But yeah, I mean that was really it though. They didn't actually touch engineer or.
No, I'm actually annoyed about that.
Or
because it could have just been
weapons.
anything. But to be fair, those two are more balanced than Shredder and Scout.
Yeah.
Generally, but still, I just like changes. So I wouldn't be too worried. Obviously, if they did something horrible like reduce like the grenade launcher's damage or something.
Yeah.
Actually, I would have found that funny. But speaking of those two idiots, they do have their respective grenades.
Well,
and
in all fairness, engineer is clearly not an idiot because I think that's interesting because normally they're like pretty.
Well, hold on. They addressed why the shredders are small.
Did they?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's just in the description. By reverse engineering and studying rival tech shredder, sometimes their sentence structure really fucks me up. R&D has found methods of rewiring their ally recognition systems and subsequently invert them. Removal of unnecessary malicious parts has resulted in a slim fold-out design that allows for packaging and easy deployment of 5 drones built into a single grenade. So they still kept the shape, but they just took out all the clutter.
Do you think that they only addressed that in there because of you?
Yes. Yes, I do. But at the same time, it's still like it doesn't explain why they kept the exact design. It just made it smaller.
Oh, it's a cool design.
I guess so.
Cool.
But they just took out all the unnecessary parts, and they just
remade
it into the same thing
for visual difference, saying different color as well.
Also,
right.
This is the coolest looking grenade, and yet it disappears when you throw it.
Yeah,
it's like this little rival tech like spike, with like green lights on it. Really cool. And then the shredders, they sort of just you get it just when you get 4 of the grenades, and it releases 5 shredders, and the shredders do 15 damage per hit, and it's still. So I think because it doesn't actually detail, it's like, oh, this is how many hits they have, because like you got max bounces on the boomerangs. I think it is health based because that would be a little bit difficult to represent.
What grenade did fucking fella use then?
He used all of these.
So you've seen them being used?
Oh no, he used the shredder. I saw him use the shredders in the boomerang. Yeah, but I didn't see any health bars.
Yeah, but did you see them die over a period of time, or like one by one, or?
Oh, it was difficult to tell what's going on.
Right.
Either way, they do sort of just hang around, and I think they do hang around you, but then they'll go for things that come within their proximity, or stuff that they're close to when they spawn, or you can slap them towards things, which I love. And that's
Someone
why
in the comments described that as violently petting, which I think
is
is almost accurate.
But I think there is actually strategy there because I think they attack things that are within their proximity. So the closer they are to something, they'll just go for it. So you slap it towards like a group of enemies far away, and then they'll start shredding them up. I just think that's awesome. And in that sense, I think they do sort of each have a mind of their own. They're not like a single unit, as in it's 5 units per grenade. not like one unit made of 5 drones. I think they all have their own targeting.
Yeah.
So that's just sick, man. And also, it's like it doesn't seem, they don't seem any weaker or particularly stronger than any of Engineer's grenades. I mean, they seem like basically the proximity mines, but more like spread out, I guess. It's like they work over time, but also very much over time because it's much less damage per hit, and they can affect. They also have a mind of their own. I don't know. They fit. They just, from what I've seen, they just fit Engineer very well, and they just are. I don't know. I don't know how balanced they are. They seem fairly well balanced too. And I don't really have any issues with them.
I don't really have much to say about them. They look pretty cool. All I know is that, like, if I use them, I'm throwing them all down immediately at the beginning, and I'm having an ungodly horde of swarmers. That's just all I know, and that's all I'm ever gonna do. And then I'm gonna just forget
that's the
about
thing, though,
grenades
isn't
at the end
it?
of the mission.
That's the thing. If they don't die over time, what is the point of not just spawning them all straight away and then abusing them by taking resupplies?
Yeah, and then just take up like 3 resupplies, 3 or 4 ones, and having the largest fucking horde of swarmers you've ever seen, or shredders rather.
Yeah, bring back the
what
proximity
team-
mine exploit, but with shredders. You just...
What I think could be a case where they have health and they will die naturally, but if you you can only ever have 5 at a time. I think that is a possible way of capping that.
It didn't look like that was the case, but that could be something they implement. Or maybe it already is. I don't know.
Did you see him that he had like more than one grenade at a time?
I think so. I shouldn't be saying things for sure though, because I can't. Because I just can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And also, in that sense, if they do just die over time, that means they have health, and I think that is what's going on here. I think other enemies can attack them. And I like, once again, I did a pretty piss poor job on observing this. I should have been more attentive considering. But that's what I would want. I because that's almost. But then again, if that is the case, they're just way better than lures. I'm sorry. If they can distract enemies by like getting targeted by them, but they're also, you know what they are. Lures are gone. Sorry. But then again, that's lures are something I would expect to get buffed.
Yeah, I mean, it would be something that people, I mean, Deep Rock will probably, because that's the thing. I mean, the experimental branch, you can't really balance due to play time with stuff. Like, people are going to use, primarily spend most of their time using the new weapons. So you can't really be like, no one's using the old content, we need to buff it. Like, stuff like that.
That's a good point. But that's why the experimental discussion is so important. So
some weapons are just more fun to use, so they get used more.
Exactly, that too.
Like, it doesn't mean they're better or worse. They're just more or less
which is
fun.
the thing with cryo. I mean, I think cryo is probably still the best grenade, but it's not as good as the percentage of players using it dictate, right? Like IFGs and pheromones a bit further behind, but they're not astronomically behind cryo. They're just behind them in utility and fun, and that's the result you get. The giant
and
gaps.
the ease of use. Like, cryos are way easier than.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the fun.
They're much simpler to use, aren't they?
Yeah, and that just means that why not make it easier? You know, maybe they're slightly worse, but easier to use them well.
And I think that's something that they did with the boomerang, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the boomerang's very. It's not the quickest thing in the world, but it's still like instant. It's still
once you throw
obvious,
it out,
you know.
You're right. Aim it at the thing that you want to be affected immediately, and then it will get around to doing everything else, right? I think it will still be, if you can get used to not everything being immediate, it will be pretty handy. If anything, that might be better. So you work your way around to the enemies at the same speed as your boomerang. So like the effects, like by the time you get to the end, the cryo enemies might have unfrozen, right? Yeah. But like by the time you get to the end of the boomerang, you've kind of already dealt with the first half, so it's probably not that bad. Point is, no one really cares about the gunner's grenade here, do we?
I mean, it's just going to be.
Can you tell me what it is? I don't actually know because you never told me.
The tactical lead burster. It just fires a sphere of bullets.
Yeah, it's a bullet sprinkler that spins around 3 times, filling basically a 360 area, kind of. No, it's probably more like a 360 dome of an area, depending on where you throw it. full of bullets. Yeah, and it would just fucking gun anything down in it.
Yeah.
Which is that's gonna. I
Yeah.
mean,
Apparently, it
it's
contains
a grenade.
576 bullets.
Yeah, which the numbers feel a bit arbitrary.
Well,
a bit
no,
random.
because it says it's got 48 volleys. I think a volley is like the up or down firing, like in a vertical line of 12 bullets. 48 times 12 is 576. And then you've got to ask, well, how much damage does each bullet do? I'm not even like 5.
Does enough. Throw it at like a horde of enemies, it clears them out. That's what we've seen so far.
Yeah, but if they are actually bullets,
terror, bloody everything.
Seems like they do weak point damage. They are actually bullets.
Yeah, probably.
I bloody well hope they do, because that'd be funny. Especially against dreadnoughts. But yeah, gun
in its ass.
Gunga grenade.
Yeah.
If there's anything else that we want to talk about, though, it would just be cosmetics.
There is.
What do you want?
No, there is more.
Oh yeah, go on, please.
We addressed it a little bit at the beginning. The rival tech.
Oh shit!
Bots.
Yes.
We mentioned
okay.
the bots, but this is actually pretty sick. And this is, if anything, this is the conversation I probably want to have the most, which is annoying because I'm a bit drained. But yeah, basically, Tom, they have repurposed the rival tech content to be part of the game, like normally, and they went pretty hard into that, harder than expected. I mean, we've talked about this before. I'm not sure if you were there, probably were, about what they were going to do with the rival tech events, like the prospect, the data deposit, the recon, whatever that's called, the hacking one. And they did exactly what they thought they would do. They're just adding it to the normal pool, and they'll just give you some XP and credits, right? That's about it.
Yeah.
Just normal stuff.
Still don't quite understand what they meant by the general event pool, though. Do you?
Yeah. Well, because I think we've broken it down more than they have. I think really, I mean, there's fucking machine events, and then there's other. I think that's probably about as far as they can see it.
But I feel like I'm forgetting what some of the other ones are.
Betsy.
Yeah, Betsy. Yeah.
Well, there's boss ones, yeah, Betsy and Corlock, but I don't think they see them as different. I think they are just events in their eyes. Same with.
I think these are like Corlocks. I think that's the slot they're in.
Those
guys. Yeah.
Prospector.
Well, Tyler, I think these ones are in the Corlock slot, basically, is what I think. Because they also mention the Corlock. They say it's similar to the Corlock, but it's only because it gives credits and XP. Yeah, but they still mentioned it, and to me it makes the most sense. Because it's not something that gives randomized cosmetics. They're not machine events. Yeah. I think the Corlock is...
Corlock,
yeah,
and like Betsy, that kind of thing.
I think it's that slot. So... you could get Corlock, you could get a Prospector.
Yeah,
basically.
Not like a Crassius or anything like that either. Point is, it'll be a reasonable chance of getting at least one of them around, which is going to be less common than you normally get them.
And it also, if I'm right though, that does mean
you have to do them either.
If I'm right, that does mean they've turned the Corlocks, like the slot that it occupies in Mission Generation, they've turned that into like the season content dump slot, if I'm right, and I'm not sure if I like that.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
I mean, the Corlock is like the season 0 event.
Yeah. It's like, it was, pretty much.
Loser.
But yeah, I mean that was expected, to be honest. They went a bit more bland than we would have hoped, but you can't blame them. It's just getting them out of there.
Yep, and the warning is standard warning rotation. Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
No longer guaranteed.
Being a normal warning, also pretty fair. What is interesting as hell, apart about all this, is what they've done to
Industrial Sabotage. Just want to make sure you get the name.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
What, you got it or you forgot it?
I forgot it.
Okay.
It's a normal mission now. The giant fucking robot boss fight, Tom.
Yeah. That
is in normal missions now. It's as normal as escort duty and air hunt. Like it'll just appear, and that implies some things as well. It's now going to be in assignments. It's now going to be in deep dive. It's now going to be in I don't think they ever actually said it was going to be in deep dives. They definitely said assignments.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. They didn't say it, but they said it's. They didn't say that either, Tyler. In the patch notes, it doesn't say that.
They did.
Yeah,
They
but
did,
Tyler,
I remember.
okay,
No, they
okay,
specifically
but in
said
the
it.
I'm talking about the patch notes. It doesn't
Yeah,
say
Harry,
either.
Jesus Christ,
It just
Harry,
says
Harry,
it's
this
now.
The patch notes did say
Tyler.
further down. It states
further down.
Yeah, it mentions that that industrial sabotage is now added to assignments or some shit like that.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the rival content section. It just says industrial
It's not
sabotage.
there.
It says.
What I'm saying is it elaborates further on that it's definitely in the assignments. All right.
I want to find. Yeah, I want to find that because I don't think that you're right. But
Well,
Tyler,
it
doesn't need to. But it doesn't need to say that because what I'm looking at it's saying is that it's just treated as a normal mission, which means both of those things.
Which is also is interesting in that, Tom, it's not just. It's now a normal mission. We've decided they have also adjusted it to be so.
Well, yeah, that's what makes it a normal mission.
There is now alternate lengths to it.
Complex. It's just complexity. It's the lower complexity version.
That's what lengths mean.
No, length complexity is separate.
It all means the same thing. Basically, chances are, and we don't know this, I don't think. I mean, Harry, you watched it, but probably only because you have to hack 2 things before you go to the fight. Probably only have to hack 1.
It's a very safe assumption. That's changes in complexity equals changes in the quantity of the objective, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's basically like refueling twice or once in an escort duty is probably what it's going to be like, which is very similar to what it's going to be like. Because I will stake this now, and I will never take it back. Escort duty and industrial sabotage are extraordinarily similar in every regard. Basically, provides the exact same thing, which is why them being in both casually in queue is not inherently a good thing as far as I'm concerned. I think they should just remove escort duty and let industrial sabotage take its place. And then I'll get sick of industrial sabotage being forced to me in every mission, and then I'll get them to remove that. So that's how that's going to go. Point is, though, it's incredibly interesting in that one way or another, the seasonal content is going to be part of the normal game. They're just going to do that.
Yeah, they also reduced how long it takes to hack the generators too. And increase transmitter node connection range to make it less tedious. So
yeah, they made it less annoying, which is always nice. But yeah, the fact that this implies that one way or another, content that they add in the seasons will be normalized in the game is interesting because we can then immediately imply that to what we know we're getting this season.
I mean, that's an interesting question too that we can already ask is how would I want to know what is it exactly called? The Lithophage outbreak. How would that be folded in to them?
Yeah, because I mean, it's really it's not just a warning. It's not just an assignment, but they're also not going to remove it. So what it's going to end up being coming out of the season is going to be very interesting. I would honestly expect it to turn into its own game mode, like its own mission, but
or a secondary objective. That's not a bad way to do it. We'll see, because it'll have to do with something. It'll be somewhat to do with how it actually feels to play.
Yeah. And
because also secondary objective a fixed amount.
I look forward to the meteorite being a normal thing.
Well, Tyler, maybe you shouldn't, because when that happens, it won't be a meteorite strike, I reckon.
What do you mean?
Once that becomes a normal event, it will probably just be there from the beginning.
No.
No, law-wise, that makes 0 sense for it to still be a meteorite strike.
Harry, since fucking when have they cared about law-wise? Second of all, it's just not possible because it is not coded to be there.
I thought we established that it definitely is.
No.
It doesn't just randomly spawn.
Plus, law-wise, it doesn't make sense if it's already there, because if it's already there, then it would have turned into a Lithophage outbreak.
Yeah.
So don't fucking pull law-wise on me. But yeah, it's gonna just be a normal assignment.
Assignment.
Harry.
Why assignment? Why would you?
Not assignment. Fucking event. It would just be a cool ass thing that will always occur, and you'll break into it, and it will give you probably minerals and coins or
Cancer.
whatever. Coin minerals,
Coins.
and XP.
Coins.
Fucking little Mario coins.
Doubloons.
Yeah,
Shekels.
fucking Sonic rings.
Gold
Point
coins.
is, I don't know. I also don't look forward to probably by the end of this year, the meteorite strikes are going to be normal, which is annoying that it occurs like that. Then again, I mean, did the Nemesis ever get that boring?
No.
It
No, it
actually
didn't.
is still pretty cool. So maybe the meteorite will always be cool when it occurs. The issue is that it has to ride the line between rare, so it's cool when it does happen, and it has to be common enough to give you scripts.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty
Yeah,
annoying
yeah,
line
yeah,
to ride,
yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I just like the idea that there's an event that can team wipe you before you start.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You go into you fucking walk out the pod, and there's already a meteorite coming to fucking crash you.
Oh my
It's
god,
fucking
straight away.
Yeah, and like the room's not even big enough to survive it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing as well. Like, I mean, the examples
I think
they
it will
showed,
happen in. It won't. I don't think it will happen in tunnels.
exactly,
I
which
don't-
is why I think the rooms have to spawn in a way where it's possible
So
for it to occur.
Yeah, you might know. You might be like, oh, this room looks like a machine event
Yeah.
room. I think there's going to be a meteorite here.
Yeah, sometimes you do. You know, it's
Although,
okay.
to be fair, though, in the trailer, it looked like it was an open room, but it still looked like a natural room. I think.
Yeah, but the
I remember
middle was
seeing.
pretty open.
Yeah, it was an
pretty
open
flat.
room, but it didn't look artificial.
Yeah,
But, it will just choose.
could have been one of
Open
the new
rooms.
room designs. Which,
Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I saw a commentator saying the thing they're most happy about, most looking forward to, is the new fucking point extraction formation.
So that's
which
because if it's
honestly, I agree.
yeah. Because if it's just the 12, because it sounds like it is from what that dev said, it's like 8 just spread out across all of them, including point extraction, and then 4 dedicated to
they
point
do.
extraction.
They do just make rooms that they put in all of the biomes. Just the biome modifies them to the point where they're almost unrecognizable in each of them.
Yes, and the missions use them in different ways.
Yeah, but
Places.
obviously point extraction has its own set, and that set has been very small for a very long time, as they acknowledge themselves. So
it honestly needs the 8 just added, but also the 4 dedicated ones. It needs all of it.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, I'm not sure if that 8 is being added to it, but
It probably should be.
well, that's not really how it works. As we just stated, Harry, they can't just put the other rooms into point extraction. That's exactly the issue. It doesn't work that way, formatting wise.
This point extraction is dumb as hell. So Tom has muted himself. I'm only pointing that out in case he did it by accident, but
why would he have done that by accident?
He doesn't use Discord very often.
He probably hasn't muted us on Discord. He's muted his mic on probably Xbox.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah,
Make it,
and he wanted to do that so he didn't interrupt us.
They said I'll just interrupt us by pointing it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but what were we even talking? I actually just straight up forgot.
We're talking about the actual K format stuff.
Oh, right, well, let's forget about
because
that.
that's basically the last thing to mention, I think, at
Well,
this point.
There was the thing on assignments, but
Oh yeah, they two-parted it.
yeah, they two-parted it, and apparently the reason is
Both parts
just-
are there.
Yeah. Both parts are there. You just have to do one, and then you can do the other. But apparently the reason being is just so you don't have to do it all.
Yeah,
And
although it
you're,
seems
you're not
the
allowed to do other
parts are
assignments.
Pretty big. Like,
Yeah,
there's
but they're
there's
not
like 5 or 6.
5, I think,
missions.
because it's just not meant to be as long as like the industrial. What was it? Rival escalation assignment.
Yeah.
It should be about half that length, I guess, or maybe a little bit. I would want it to be a little bit more than half the length. It's split in 2, but that to me was like, but how are they going to be differentiated actually though? Apart from it's just the same assignment split in 2. That's what I want to see. So they'll have different descriptions. Maybe it'd be like, but it's not like the actual state of the game can change because you've just done one assignment. So it's not going to be anything like that. So they're probably not going to be that differentiated. I would assume, if anything, that maybe the first one doesn't force you to play outbreaks, and then the second one does, or it's just a weird composition. I don't bloody know. If they really want it to be fun, no, I might actually no. That's a boring suggestion actually. One more thing though that we can both speak on because we've seen them kind of. We can obviously not going to run through every single cosmetic.
There's already a video that does that.
Well, that's good. I've seen it. Yeah. Although I will point out the paint jobs in the cosmetic tree. Platinum is what they're called. At least the armor ones are, and then for the weapons, it's just called sleek. But they're clearly meant to be the same thing. It's just the armors are class specific, and it's called platinum. So I will probably like that, whatever it is. But the framework, obviously, this is always a big deal now for these seasons. They'll come with one framework for everything. It's mil spec, aka military specification, and I think we both seem to be pretty big fans of it.
I think it's I don't think this is a negative. I just think it's something worth mentioning that it's really kind of stepping on the toes of what's the DLC one that gives a bunch of square skins?
Yeah, Mega Corp. In my opinion, it really does differentiate itself enough. They look similar. I think they're similar, but they're conceptually different enough. I think
I think they are conceptually identical. Just executed differently. No, they are both designed to be cubic, right? Like I mentioned,
that's not the concept though. The concept for mil-spec is to look like actual military equipment. The Megacorp's concept is to just be blocky.
Yeah.
Mil-spec is a little bit different. They look like guns.
Waster and that were like rough and pointy. Then Builder's Choice was like curved and like round and all that. And now they're going for a more blocky, sturdy design.
Mil-spec is something that DRG would want them to use, basically, which I think Megacorp is as well. And then Builder's Choice and I guess Waster's Choice and even Builder's Choice are more personalized, I think. A Builder's Choice doesn't look like something that gets mass produced, but like the mil-spec thing, that's like from like a manufacturer, some kind.
Yeah.
But they look pretty cool. They look, some of them look like I wouldn't say silencers, but they look like they have like gun barrels. A lot of them pointing out the front, how they should. Like the guns don't really have sort of like muzzles like that, and it looks pretty neat. And like, it's one for some reason I just love the frameworks, just like chopping, changing like the paint jobs just to see what they look like. It's exciting stuff because I'm autistic. I'm not actually. I'm actually not.
Are you sure? Have you been tested?
No, I don't want to be.
Yeah, because you know the result.
No, it's because I'm secure enough to not need like a diagnosis. I just don't feel the need to confirm that I am mentally disabled. What the hell is that? Oh shit, I'm getting a phone call.
Well, you pretty much got that confirmation with the amount of times you failed your bloody driving test.
Hello. Yeah?
And now Harry's muted. Everyone's been muted this stream. Hello, Tom. We're really at the end now, to be honest. I think we're I can't get it out at this point. I'm pretty knackered. How's it hanging? Most of it, what you've learned about season 3 was just now by us talking about it.
Yeah.
I do recommend you watching the narrated trailer because it gets you fucking hyped for it. But then again, we got like 3 weeks until it comes out for us. So maybe don't get hyped now, just a bit later on. But yeah, it's a pretty cool fucking season coming up.
It does seem like a pretty cool season.
Yeah,
I do really like knowing about it, but not seeing any of the official. Like, just hearing the rumors and then just going into it. I like doing that.
Can I just point out how sequel bait this season is, and how in season 1 wasn't. I never even thought that I didn't want it to be continued, but I already want season 3 to be continued because it's just like it's an infection. And it's clearly nowhere near at the potential that it could be. Like,
I think
they also don't have their boss for it either yet.
There is definitely something else that could be added. Like, if the rock pox just expanded out to like a select few other enemy types, like a Mactera.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what a sequel season would entail. But
like a shellback infested, maybe. That would be pretty interesting. That kind of thing, like a breeder infested, and it like infests, like it breeds. Point is, yeah, I think a season 4 continuation with just alternate infected targets and maybe, I don't know, a lighter like warning, or not
Yeah,
warning.
but
It
can
wouldn't be
I?
a warning. That's the thing. It'd be like probably an anomaly of some sorts.
But
I
but
mean,
but
you
but,
would say
but,
that, but
on this subject though, because like the larvae, it says in its description, and this is actually coming in handy now. The miner's manual entry says at the moment the larvae seem incapable of infecting dwarves. That's where you go with the sequel season. You have
Yeah.
zombie dwarves. Anyway, that's part of it too. But it's also like when it comes to the concept of sequel seasons, though, I only want them if they can actually get
4
seasons down
months.
to 4 months, no longer. But I also just want that in
Really
general.
presumptuous, and I do apologize,
What?
but it's really it's the case that, like, yeah, you know, I mean, they experienced it themselves, and it's the same thing with different things, but like the same kind of feeling for too long on a game will kind of kill it out. Even if there is actual new content, if it all feels the same, then
Exactly.
it doesn't really rub well.
They can only get
And
away with it if there's more than 2 seasons a year.
yeah,
And at the same time, I that's the only way I would want sequel seasons. But in general, I really think they should be trying to get down to 3 seasons a year anyway. So,
yeah.
but that's also the only way I would accept them continuing the same theme again. Which they don't have to do that. But
Or it's
if
just
it
like
helps,
they
if it
can do what
helps,
they
go
want,
ahead.
right? Like, you could continue to do like 6 months per continuations, but you're gonna feel the same, like, or
Well, they could
everyone's
do
gonna
it.
feel the same drag that we went through season 2.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with you, it wasn't good. It was actually quite a bad experience going through that drought. And not just because, you know, we're trying to make content during that time. Clearly, we didn't suffer with it, though. We had plenty to talk about because we just started making a channel. But like playing the game, I couldn't stand doing come the last like 2 to 3 months. Like it was tough, like bringing myself to play the game for the channel, because there wasn't really anything to do. Like, it's just kind of the same shit, really. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's
And we
better for
know that
everyone.
yeah,
And you can scale down the things you need to add. We're not asking for this amount of content in 2 months less time.
They also need to get that in their heads. If it's not already in there, maybe it is in there, but they're just like, no, we want to do lots of stuff, but it's just like,
yeah, it's
honestly,
like, sure,
guys,
fine,
we know that the seasonal model was a business decision, but because it's a business decision, you need to approach it that way and actually be regular. And 4-month gaps is the way to do that. And that's like, you know, I'm not gonna be like 3 months, because that's 4 seasons a year, and I don't think that's within their
I think
range.
It says something about their way of going about making the game, that like every other company that really has a battle pass in their game starts that battle pass with the day it ends at the top of it, right? Like Overwatch is like, you know, like 40 something days now, 60 days when it starts. Apex, Fortnite, everything knows the day that the next season starts.
And basically, I don't want them to crunch, but it's like, if you put a timer in the game from the start of the season, it's basically whatever you've got done by that point.
Yeah, because part 2s will be more than acceptable at
but
that
even
point,
then,
right?
even like mid-season updates to just bring the rest of the season's content, it's really just the past that needs to get done for the season start date, and then you can sort of just add all the content as it gets completed. That's actually part of the season theme.
I would argue is the only thing that I feel guilty about, because you'd have to make the pass a lot more, which, I mean, I'd like a lot more cosmetics, but I realise they're probably a drain. But obviously, if you are making shorter seasons, make a shorter pass. That's fair. Like no one will be angry if the passes are shorter and there's like less content per season if the seasons are more regular.
I think I might have discussed this before, right? But in my opinion, the cosmetic tree, as cool as it is, it's not actually helping them. I don't think they should have just done the MCC battle pass method, where you can buy, you get points, and you can buy anything on like the the 10 tiers that you're at. And once you've bought all of those 10 tiers, then you move on to the next. But it's not just one at a time. You can pick from, like, you know, you're currently on tiers 1 to 10. You could buy tier 10, but you still need to buy all 10 to get to
I think
11 to
the
20.
current thing is I mean, it's fine. It's pretty fun. It's an interesting way of doing it. You got the normal battle pass system, and then you got like a tree to go alongside it.
Yeah, but this way
Like-
you have it normal, but you can also have the element of choice, and it's in the same pass.
Yeah,
And that way you don't have to
there
make
is-
as much content.
There is, yeah, I
But
don't
the
know.
framework thing doesn't work going so when you have to go through it so linearly, which is why I think my version is actually better. That's what I'm thinking about. It would work for them.
Shock horror. You think you're better than them?
I do not. I do not.
But I don't know. It's just I think the system in place is fine. It's just the amount to be scaled with the time spent. Really, like we're not asking for more stuff. We're just asking for the stuff that you would provide to us to be a bit more less spread out. Really, because obviously, like the hype everyone's feeling now is fucking huge, right? And I assume they're feeling it as well. Everyone's super excited, boosting for season 3, right? And this would be the exact same amount of hype, if not more, if they did it more frequently, right? Like, like it wouldn't have to be the gaping like 4 months of nothing in between. All right, and you got like the month of high coming from the season actually ending, and then the month of nothing or teasers.
Either way, let's not retread. Let's not retread old dead horses, which we have. But actually, to be honest, the fact that we've done 2 hours and 15 minutes of pretty fresh discussion kind of blows my balls off. At the same time, given that we've gone on for so long, I think we're in we have exhausted the actual topics of this podcast, and that Tyler's also muted. I'm going to start bringing it to a close, and I'm sure that once he rejoins the conversation, he will be very quick to agree. And unless Tom has something to say, I'm actually gonna. I'll probably pause until Tyler comes back. Tom,
I don't know. what to say.
you have anything to say?
No.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Wow, that was miserable.
That'll do. That's it.
All right.
That's all it is.
Thank you everyone for
There you
listening. We'll probably like I said, we don't want to retread old dead horses, but we will probably retread this ground in tomorrow's stream.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you
I'll
enjoyed
be on
this,
YouTube, I'll be on Twitch.
you will be on. Yes, you will, because
Yeah, it went very well last time, so I'm hoping to.
it went very well.
Yeah.
All right, is that it? Nothing else you got?
No.
All right, see you guys later.
Yeah,
Big kiss. That
that is a huge kiss.
was a huge kiss. All right, see you guys.